What is happening, everybody? We have a very special event today. We are doing a live 12-teamer mock draft with many names from the industry, and it's all in support of Dream. It's a fantastic charity that instills good skills for kids growing up and the ability to play baseball and just develop leadership skills. It's a fantastic charity. It's part of the promise that we made last week. You might have seen it. A lot of different sites and organizations, we all gather together to do what we can to support minorities more. And this is a very good cause that I'm excited to have so many people from the industry do. So what we're doing for the next 2.5 hours is we're going to do a 12-team draft. I have actually a good amount of the people inside this draft ready to talk about it as it's happening. But what's going to happen now is we're going to do this. Just going to hang out, talk fantasy, leave comments. If you donate, and you really should during this whole thing we're doing is just straight donations to Dream, which is fantastic. You can use the link down below, wearedream.org/donate. If you do donate, there is a thread that you should see now on Twitter. I need to put it out. Here we go. That has all the information that you need, but post your donations there. Post your receipts of donation, and I will post it here on the stream. I think it just broke the tweet I had prepared, which was like 10 tweets. So give me a moment. Let's see if it actually did that or not. Okay, no, I got it. Everything's fine. See, look, you're watching this now because of that tweet. Leave your receipts of donation there. I will shout it out on stream. But I'm really excited. We have so many people inside the industry in this draft today. We have Bobby Sylvester from Yahoo. So not who Fantasy Pros, of course. Chris Towers from CBS Sports. Yancy Eaton. Everyone knows Yancy, of course. Jason Collette of Rotographs and RotoWire. DVR of The Athletic. Clay Link of RotoWire. The Welsh of In This League. And, of course, just being the Welsh of CBS Sports as well. Paul Sporer of Rotographs. Enough. That is Eno. If I'm going to read that as enough, which is kind of funny. Eno Sarris of The Athletic. Casey Bubba, of course, with Bench with Bubba. Alan Melchior of The Athletic. And, of course, I'm taking the 12th because I don't know what I'm doing. But anyway, if you're just joining us now, we're doing this live draft for the next 2.5 hours. Donate to that link below. It's a fantastic cause. Go to that link, wearedream.org/donate. Consider helping out this fantastic charity that goes to essentially making better communities for minorities and helping develop kids, giving them the necessary skills with baseball, of course, too. It's just a fantastic cause, and we're raising money for today. I'm going to start this draft. I hope that Bobby Sylvester is ready. I think I have it. Yeah, it's started. So I'm just going to start the clock now, and I think you can go, Bobby, with the first pick. I know who I would pick. I would pick Christian Yelich. Man, whew. There you go. And he's taking Christian Yelich. He's being smart. And actually, you know what? I'm going to bring on Bobby right now to talk about that pick. How you doing, Bobby?
I'm doing great because I have Christian Yelich on my team, right? I mean, I understand.
So wait, why are you going Christian
pick
Yelich?
Trout or Acuna? But I mean, if you prorate Yelich last season to 162 games, 55 homers, 38 steals, 329 batting average, which is 40 points higher than 49 points higher than Acuna. He's right up there in steals. He's the top at home runs. RBIs runs combined is the highest of the three. I don't understand why his ADP is number 3 right now.
Yeah, I'm actually on your side. I personally would be going with Christian Yelich first overall. Right. I think it's a mix of I think Trout is honestly going to be in 2 weeks of quarantine because he's having a baby during the season,
and he's
which is really weird. And I hate to even think about that. So I mean, there is a 5. Yeah, that's crazy. Bellinger going 3rd. We'll talk about that hopefully a little bit later. But also, I mean, as you said, right, the condensed season highlights those on a per game basis. Christian Yelich was exceptional. It's essentially the number 1 hitter last year with that. And yes, injury history is a question, but condensed season, fewer opportunity for him to get injured. I think I personally would take Christian Yelich as well. I'm going to start bringing in more people because we have more and people have made some picks.
Man. I'll catch you in a little bit.
Yeah, of course. We'll bring you back on. Thanks for being here, Bobby. We have Jason Collette, of course. Cauliflower, as he's now calling himself all the time, which I absolutely love. It's my favorite thing. How you doing?
What's up, man? How are you?
Fantastic. And you took Garrett Cole 4th overall. Why is that?
try and do something different. I'm not used to picking this high. Everything I did throughout the regular draft season was either at the front or the back. I didn't do anything in them. So I was like, well, let's try something else. And with the way starting pitching may be playing out in this abbreviated season, I want to go ahead and get this taken care of now. So I'm going to try this approach because this is something I think Verlander was the only pitcher I took in the first round with any of the other picks I did. So I just wanted to try something different.
All right. I get that completely. I will say this. They just came out today that they wouldn't necessarily push Garrett Cole to 100 pitches right out of the gate. I think it was something along the lines of Aaron Boone being in talks with Garrett Cole. It might be just something for us to report on, and now we're speculating on it. It makes me think personally about the how are pitchers going to be used, and are there going to be certain ones that are going to be able to go 6 or maybe even 7 in that first or second start, while there are others that are going to have to ease into it, and how much of an impact that can make if they're making like 10 to 11 starts in the entire season.
Yeah, I'm going to be surprised if we see some guys going 6 or even 7 right out of the gate with that 30-man roster, and there's no limit on the amount of pitchers. Why would you even try to push it? You know, you can mix and match. Yeah, you got to do the 3-batter rule. So you got to do a little bit of that. But, you know, if you, especially these guys that have that time suit the order severe penalty, everybody has it. But how much they get hit is like you can take these guys and yank them out real quick and then start using a deep bullpen that you have right out of the gate. So I'll be surprised, honestly, if we see guys going 6 and 7.
So I'm okay. So I'm happy to have gotten Trevor Story, by the way, this late. Just because I always get kind of worried in roto leagues about stolen bases, and if I don't get them in the first or second rounds with someone that I don't feel like I'm giving up anything else, I'm super happy. Now, I was actually tempted to take Scherzer or maybe even Verlander and just kind of roll with that for once because I normally don't do that. But I see Juan Soto there. I see Jose Ramirez, and actually I think I might double up and try and snag stolen bases effectively. But I love Juan Soto too much. I'm sorry.
Well, it's why, honestly, it's kind of why I took the 4th pick, because I was like, if I'm going to take a pitcher, let's just get it out of the way early, because where you're picking, you know, there's so many things to make a decision on what you have there. So, because that's where I had been picking either 14th or 15th in just about every mixed league. And it wasn't like I was choosing that spot. It just kept getting assigned to me randomly. So, you know, it is what it is. But so I wanted to try something different here.
Well, it's great having you here, Jason. I'm sure I'm going to keep cycling you through, bring you on here, but I want to get to a couple other people that are in the waiting right now. And I really can't thank you again for being a part of this. And this is going to be really fun.
Sure thing.
All right. So next up we have Chris Welsh. I want to go straight to you, Welsh, because you took Jacob deGrom, and right off of that Garrett Cole thing, were you going to echo a lot of the sentiments that Collette just gave us?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's also about, you know, kind of experimenting with some of these different formats and, you know, pitching. I've been doing the big battle of, you know, how confident can we be in the top end pitchers, you know, because we've already heard like the Dodgers talk about limiting innings early on, and presumably most of the teams are going to do that. But my justification has been, if there's going to be some of these guys that are going to be able to curtail that relatively early on, it's going to be the top end players. So, you know, Verlander and Buehler just went back to back guys I was looking at here, and kind of just getting it out of the way, you know, because in a 12 team, I also, if this were a 15, I might have gone Trey Turner, to be honest with you, just because I'm much more, as we call it over in this league, the Ricky Bobby. If you're not first
I get that
here, that I want high end categories, you know, so stolen bases, homers, stuff like that. That I probably would have gone with Trey Turner if this were a 15 team, but I knew I was going to get a great hitter or a good pitcher coming back in the second round, and I think I'm up in a pick here.
Yeah, you are. You have 5 picks till you. Are you actually? I'm sorry, in 2. Oh, I'm excited to have your thought process as you do it, because I imagine you obviously need to go with the hitter here. And I just axed you out as you're making it, which I shouldn't have done. I'm so sorry. Okay, so Freddie Freeman just went. Is that who you were looking at?
No, so this might surprise some people what I'm gonna do here. So in my Ricky Bobby effect here, I've had a battle at first base because I think Freddie Freeman is like a total complete package of a player, and I really like him. And there's a couple players that have moved value, and I'll be honest with you, there's some amazing players on the board right now. Alex Bregman, JD Martinez. There's a lot of safety, but in a shortened season, I think going hardcore high-end categories that players that might have a deficiency in one place or another might be able to mask that. And that's why it might be a little bit of a shock, but I'm going to take Pete Alonso because I'm going to go with a potential home run leader, 60-game projections. Obviously, you're going to love Pete Alonso. And I think if there's a guy that could mask a batting average problem, Alonso could go 290, lead the league in homers. I'm going to take 3 categories. Hopefully, I can be beneficial on the hitting side. First base isn't super great, and it's Ricky Bobby, baby. So Pete Alonso. This is where
I love that. I was actually hoping I would be able to get Alonso maybe by the 3rd, 4th turn because I've seen that a couple times, and it's good to know that I have absolutely no chance now. But Welsh, I am super happy to have you as a part of this. I will be coming back to you definitely. I want to go to the guy that is making the pick right now, and who just made it my club and you guys' opinion there. But really, thanks again for being a part of this.
Yeah, buddy. Thanks for thinking of me.
All right, so DVR is here. What's happening, DVR?
Hey, what's up, Nick? Thanks for putting this together.
Yeah, of course. This is amazing that all of you guys have, been able to take your time to do this kind of thing. And I want to talk about your draft because you got Mike Trout 5th. I've never seen that, but I get it because, I guess we're all kind of concerned about those 2 weeks now, right?
Yeah, 2 weeks in a shortened season is a lot. And we don't know exactly what that situation is going to play out like. I understand why people would hesitate. At 5, I didn't expect him to be there. I still thought he'd go 3rd out of the top 3. Mm-hmm. I took that 5th pick because I wanted Garrett Cole. I assumed Cole would be there because Trout was there. It made me kind of try what happens if you don't take a pitcher at 5? Who's still there in round 2? Who's still there in round 3? And the way it came back with Clevenger for that 2nd pick, I just felt like there were so many good hitters left. I wanted to take my choice of the 6 through 10 starting pitchers, expecting a couple of them to go in the 8 picks between my turns.
That's interesting. I would have Clevenger at 6 as well. The news, I talked to Stephen Lyman during PitchCon, and he was essentially like, we were worried about Clevenger speeding back before, but now that we have 3 months in between that, if not 4, he should be fine in that knee. We shouldn't have any worries about the shortened season, given the injury he had back in February. So, if I am going with this starter there, it is Clevenger for me. Where you also got Mike Trout, but it is a 12-teamer. I would imagine you're going to have some sort of backup outfielder ready to go, just because you have to expect Trout to miss some time.
Exactly. I think that's the key. Format makes all the difference in the world. The replacement level on the waiver wire in a 12-team league is pretty high. I think you can find a guy that can play nearly every day. You're not going to find a player who hits like Mike Trout, but that drop-off, even if it ends up being a couple of weeks, it won't be that bad in this league. In a 15-team league, in a mono league, it might be a different line of thinking for me, but here I was very comfortable with Trout in that spot.
Yeah, that's a fun pick. I wonder if that's what we're going to see is 4 or 5 Mike Trout, but I do want to bring in Chris Towers, who just made his most recent pick. So I'm going to jump to him, but of course we'll come back to you, Derek, and I very much look forward to that. Thanks for being here. Good. All right. What's happening, Chris Towers? Thanks for being here, man.
No problem. Thanks for putting this together. It's actually, I haven't done as many mock drafts for baseball as I would have liked in the last couple of weeks. So I've got one on Thursday. This is
nice.
This is good.
Awesome. Well, it's mock draft season now for the next couple weeks here, and it's so strange. I normally we start doing these in like October or November. We do like the industry mocks, right? And we feel like we have months and months of preparation before the season, and now it's. I just saw Mike Trout go 5th. I'm like, oh wait, I can understand that. Now we're just a couple weeks away. I feel so unprepared, and I'm excited about that. I'm looking forward to the chaos, Chris.
Yeah, the whole thing is, obviously unprecedented. I feel like, really, we have been doing mock drafts for like 9 months now.
Yeah.
I've drafted probably 10 teams that I'll actually play out at this point too. So now it'll be interesting to see how many of those we double up on and do again. And it's just definitely a weird process. Definitely a weird, we're going to be playing a 60-game season. And
that's it.
That alone it's such a different experience than what we're used to, that there's all kinds of different questions and strategies involved. And I know some people are really prioritizing stolen bases more in this environment, and then there's the questions of, do you pick, are specific types of players more predictable in a 60-game season? And it really is, an unknown.
It's absolutely crazy. I mean, first of all, I do want to mention that I only brought you on because I wanted to see your cat, which I hope makes an appearance.
No, so the cats aren't in the room. I can get my puppy.
Okay, that works. That's fine.
You might be able to see him in the background. We have to keep the dog and cat separated.
Understood.
Still.
Right. But you also color code your books like Fast does in his home.
Yes, that's
which
that's my wife.
I think is great too.
But I love the way it looks. I got a new book and I didn't realize, but now that I'm looking, she already put it in the appropriate teal spot.
So while you tell us why you took Ronald Acuna and if you were happy about getting him at number 2, or if you would have rather had Christian Yelich, as I try and figure out who I'm going to pick in my next 2.
The first thing I did when I came into the room was I just kind of hit the little star button next to Mike Trout's name, because I figured Ronald Acuna would go number 1. I'd take Mike Trout number 2. Yelich going number 1. It did push Ronald Acuna. Ronald Acuna is the top player on my board for a Roto League. I think it's a little different if you're playing in a head-to-head points league. He doesn't quite have the plate discipline of some of the other guys, but in a Roto League, when you look at someone who, you can maybe make an argument that Ronald Acuna overperformed in home runs last season or in batting average, or you can kind of nitpick here. He's awesome. He's not, as a real life baseball player, he's not where Mike Trout is. He's certainly not where Mike Trout was, when he was Ronald Acuna's age, when he was an unquestionable number 1 overall fantasy pick. But is he the only player with legitimate 40-40 potential over a 162 game season right now? Maybe Jose Ramirez?
It could be. I mean, I would be obviously happy picking out the 2 hole just because of what we're talking about with Trout falling a bit. I think there is obviously a gap between Yelich and Acuna versus Bellinger as well. So it might be kind of one of those seasons where you go, okay, whoever does fall down to me, I'd be happy with.
Yeah, and it was interesting because you set it up so that it was first come, first serve as far as picking your draft spot.
Yep.
And I think the first 2 spots that were taken were 3 and 4.
It was 12 and 3 and then 4, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I think I was the 4th one and I picked 2. And it was interesting to see, I guess this year you've kind of got that, and this has been true, I don't think this has changed with the shortened season, but you've got that tier at the top of either 5 or 6 players. Some people may have Mookie Betts a little lower. Some people may have Garrett Cole being a pitcher sort of out of that group, but between 4 and 6 players, I guess. And so on the one hand, you can look at it and say 4 is the best spot to be in.
Right.
Because you get your choice of whichever one of those guys falls and then the higher pick coming back.
Yeah, that makes sense.
For me, that was sort of my thought process behind taking number 2 instead of number 1. It's just, you can't make a wrong pick there, but you do get that extra draft spot coming back that I think, does help a little bit, because I don't think there's a difference between the number 1 and number 2 pick this year in terms of value.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. I would personally go with Yelich. There might be something a little bit different there, but nevertheless, you'll be happy with either one. And again, 60 games, so who knows what's going to happen. But really, I appreciate you coming on here, Chris. I'm going to be cycling through a lot of you guys during this, so hopefully to see you a little bit later as well. But I want to bring on Yancy, who's been patiently waiting for a while, and I got to talk to him about his first 3 picks here. So thanks for being here, Chris.
No problem. See you.
All right, Yance, I know I'm talking to you right before you make your pick. You can make it live with us. Good to have you here. Biggest question I have is Bellinger 3. What were you thinking about there?
So I'm in the camp that's kind of afraid of the whole Mike Trout situation. I think he's very good, and if he plays a full slate of games, he's obviously going to be one of the best players in baseball. I in this shortened season, I need as many uncertainties to be taken out of the equation as humanly possible, and there's just a lot of uncertainty regarding Trout. I know he's fantastic, but Cody Bellinger having first base eligibility is obviously huge, and I can still play around and move him around in the outfield if I need to. I'm just terrified that we're going to get stuck holding the bag when it comes to, certain players. And if you can avoid that at all costs, then you need to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
That makes sense. All right. You got to make your pick now. What's your thought process here?
So I already have my infield minus shortstop filled out. The shortstop is super, super deep, and this is only a 12-teamer, so I kind of want to wait there. I'm really surprised at how quickly most of this starting pitching is gone. We still had 3 or 4 pitchers taken in the first round, which is just really, really surprising. I just want to keep pounding hitting. I know that's kind of been your strategy as well, but
What's up?
I don't know. I'm a little. I guess I'm gonna go. Man, I don't even want to take an outfielder this early either.
Well, so right now I want to mention that everyone should be donating to Dream. This is why we're doing this today. It's a fantastic charity, a fantastic organization, just helping youth development in communities, primarily minority communities. They use baseball as a tool for youth development. So we're obviously on board with that on top of everything else that they do. And keep in mind that we will be randomly selecting one of the people that donates. That is, you go on Twitter, show the receipts of your donation. We'll be awarding PL Plus to one of those people. So definitely go and donate, showcase it on Twitter. And yeah, let's have a fun mock draft. And you go with Nelson Cruz here, going more on the hitting. I was actually kind of tempted to take Nelson Cruz at the start of the 4th round. Just a little bit as you're frozen, which is too bad. It's a wonderful look that Yance has right now, but unfortunately he's frozen. Hopefully he'll be back in just a moment. I'm going to bring back Bobby Sylvester as he's going to prepare for his next pick here.
That was a perfect spot for Yance to be frozen, wasn't it? Because it looked like he was just getting ready to answer for a really long time.
You know, I set him up perfectly, and he just didn't take it. And I was so confused. And but okay, I imagine you're going with at least one starter here. Maybe you're not. Maybe you're going to that 7th round strategy that I've talked about a good amount.
Yeah, I definitely would not mind waiting on a starting pitcher. However, Chris Paddock is available to me, and I'm gonna have to pull the trigger on him.
Okay. So I'm trying to think of who else is left here. By the way, actually, it looks like Chris Towers. Oh, never mind. I guess Paddock is maybe actually the highest rated one. Charlie Morton being gone.
I actually like Glass now better than Paddock, but
is that
I
true?
think there's a chance he drops to the 72 pick, whereas Paddock definitely won't. And frankly, if I didn't already have a third baseman, I don't remember who my third baseman is, Rafael Devers.
Yes.
I'd take Manny Machado here, along with Jonathan VR, who's going to be my other pick. Now, I'm not exactly sure what's going on with the draft right now. It looks like
Chris Towers ran out of time. I imagine he lost internet for a moment.
Sure.
So we're messaging to kind of figure it out if he's okay.
Good deal.
I mean, he was just on the show, so
yeah. Basically, what it comes down to is I'm very upset with Welsh for taking Mondesi because I love getting Mondesi in the 3rd or 4th round. Now, granted, when you're picking at the turn, you don't always have a chance of that unless you really reach for him in the 3rd. So it did not work out. Would have loved to have Mondesi. I'm going to go with the lesser version, and that's Jonathan VR. Okay,
so let's say VR gets taken right now. What do you do? How do you pivot?
Yeah, if VR does get taken right now, well, first of all, I'm going to yell here on the live stream. And second of all, I have a full minute to decide what else I would do. I would probably just pull the trigger on Manny Machado.
Okay.
Regardless, and just make him my corner infielder. Or maybe reach for Giancarlo Stanton. I know a lot of people are just really hesitant about Stanton. This could be a league winner. Okay, Cody Bellinger last year was going in the 4th, 5th round. A lot of people were like, oh, man, that's too risky. I don't want to do that. Dude has a chance to hit 60 home runs, right? That's Stanton. Or I could just double up on starting pitchers and go Paddock and Glass. Now I love them both.
So, all right. So I'm seeing if I should make a pick for Chris Towers here, which I really don't want to do.
You're not going to hurt my feelings if you take my guy.
I don't know if I would do that. Okay. I mean, we can do a collective live stream vote here for who Chris Towers would take. Things to consider here. He has speed in Acuna Jr. Rendon, no speed there, but Anthony Rizzo could be someone that goes in the 4th round. I don't know if he necessarily likes him. Charlie Blackmon is actually kind of late at this point. I don't know.
I didn't realize Blackmon was available because, as the draft is going on, right after I made my pick, I picked 5 or 6 guys from my queue that I thought, oh, those guys will be there. I'll get 2 of these guys. And I didn't even put Blackmon because I figured for sure he'd be gone. But I'm going to have to take Blackmon now.
Yeah, right. I feel like Blackmon should be taken. I'm just going to do. I mean, the thing is, also it comes right back around. So I am stalling for just a moment longer. I messaged him. Okay, he says sorry. He's back. He's ready. He's here. Let's see if he takes Blackmon. Let's see if he takes VR, Paddock, Machado. It's Lucas Giolito.
All right. Wow.
Who I actually have one spot above Chris Paddock. So I agree with that.
I'm going to hold off and not go with a starting pitcher still because Blackmon is there. I'm going to grab my third outfielder, which is so atypical for one of my drafts. But, getting Harper in the 3rd, I'm happy with that. Obviously, I had to go Yelich or Acuna or Trout, Bellinger in the 1st. So you're getting an outfielder if you have a top 4 pick. Where's my other guy? There he is. Jonathan VR. I've got my second baseman, and we are 5 rounds in with no pitchers.
I mean, that's look at that. I mean, good luck. It's gonna be kind of funny with both of us like doing that strategy and seeing who snipes the other one from like the opposite ends of the draft. But yeah, looking forward to doing this with you again. Thanks for being here. I'm going to jump into Collette now as he makes his pick. Hey, Jason, what are we thinking here?
Wow, I'm thinking I just watched somebody take 3 starting pitches in a row, and I'm like trying to recover from that. So yeah, I'm going to double up with the kids, and I'm taking Eloy Jimenez here. With that particular pick. It's when Yancy took Nelson Cruz, it's almost who I took with that particular pick myself. So I have now filled up my outfield with this, but in this short season, I honestly really like the White Sox this year and what that offense could be capable of. Mm-hmm. And so I'm doubling up on youth here, the proven youth with Moncada and then Jimenez, who obviously I got to see up front and close in Charlotte and just saw everything he could do with a bat last year in the minor leagues. And I'm excited to see him play at the major league level.
Now, Moncada in the 4th round, I think we've been kind of seeing him more so in the 5th or so, maybe 6th. And obviously the talk of the near 400 BABIP of Yoan Moncada, if not actually higher than that. Yeah. It was 410, if I remember correctly. Am I crazy thinking that? But it was something
around there. Him and Tatis.
Right. Are you scared at all? I mean, clearly you're not. What is kind of putting your mind at ease here?
Just the overall ability. I mean, again, a guy that can really hit the ball hard. There's a reason why his BABIP where it was. You just watch how hard he hits the baseball, and that plays into that as well. I did look at VR. I heard Bobby talking about what VR was capable of doing, and I thought about doing that as well. But at the end of the day, I went with the more well-rounded player rather than somebody like VR, who's Bobby doesn't need to worry about speed for a while. He's got it in spades now. So I thought about doing that.
Here's the thing, though. You don't have to worry about speed, but now you have to focus on second base and shortstop, which generally revolve around speed. Mm-hmm. I'm curious to see who you're going to pair this outfield and Moncada with, of course, in the next couple rounds. Maybe actually you'll shift to pitching, and maybe it'll be an Ahmed Rosario and, I don't know, Brandon Lau combo at the end of this draft. We'll see what happens there.
That's who keeps ending up on my, it's all these other drafts that I've done. I end up in the bottom tier of those middle infield positions for whatever reason. Maybe it's because I keep chasing all the other spots.
Well, there you go. Well, anyway, thanks for being here, Jason. I'm going to jump to Welsh, who just made a Gallo pick here. All right. So I love this pick of Gallo. I'm a huge Joey Gallo fan. What made you lean there? You've already got Pete Alonso. Why did you then swing the other way? Actually kind of staying on topic with Gallo.
More, Nick. All the power, all the speed, all the strikeouts. That's what I want. I will tell you, I mean, people can't see it because I'm, when I'm in the back room here, when Nelson Cruz went, I went, ow! And then I adjusted. I was like, all right, I'm going to go with Keston here because I've already taken 2 starting pitchers. I got Strasburg and DeGrom, and I paired them with Alonso and Mondesi, which, we're roto. I'm setting myself up, obviously, a little bit for batting average. If there's one I can try to make up later, that'll be the one. And Keston here hurt my soul. That was one that I really wanted because he's a power speed type of guy. But I'm very, very much into Gallo because I think in a 60-game span, this is a guy that cannot have that problem. He can supplant that entire issue of 220 batting average. We could see him hit 270 and he could lead the league in home runs. So again, this is me accumulating the big time counting stats and hopefully being able to kind of subdue in some other spots. But I don't know. I wanted Stanton too. I was hoping I could maybe sneak Gallo, but Stanton and Hero went away, and I'm going to just keep piling on my stats, man.
So I'm going to expect, of course, Aaron Judge at 66 from you.
You know what? I looked at it. I think you should feel a little bit better about Aaron Judge. It was so weird going in like a week ago. This was like, Stanton looks fantastic, and Judge is still a massive move away from and keep away from him.
Sure.
I feel like the sides have switched where they're like, yeah, we're pretty good with Stanton starting at DH, and Aaron Judge, they say they're very, very optimistic that he'll be ready for day one. So I think this is the territory for it. So you're probably going to see me continuously pound these big time Ricky Bobby type of players. I've got some good pitchers. I will tell you one thing, Nick. I am shocked that nobody has pulled the trigger on the closers yet. I mean, I wouldn't.
Interesting. Okay.
But I'm shocked somebody hasn't tried to start that thing, because once it goes, it's going to start happening. And in a shortened season, I feel like, maybe it's not this crew and it's not my strategy, but I felt like people might be I don't know, feeling the pressure to make sure that they're taking some of the closers so they don't miss out in a roto.
This is absolutely crazy what's about to happen, you know.
I know. What are you going to do? Are you going to do what I just said?
No, well, first I'm going to take Eugenio Suarez. Second,
come on.
Second, I need a third baseman. Like I like him more than all those other third basemen that just went in a row, which surprises me.
If you weren't such a nice guy, I would just.
I was like, well, he's my favorite one of the lot.
That's why I passed. By the way, I looked at third base, and there was this just cavalcade of great third basemen. And I'm like, ooh, but Eugenio Suarez is the guy that'll last. So nope.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So here's the thing. I'm going to. Okay, hold on. So I'm pretty great at average right now.
Are you punting pitching?
Well, I always punt until the 7th round.
Okay.
But I wasn't planning on it, and I actually was like, you know what? This might be the only draft ever where I'm taking Chris Paddock. Because the time, like I was thinking, like, well, the end of the 7th is maybe pushing it too far.
Not that often you can get a caliber pitcher like him. Yeah, I mean, Paddock and Nola still sitting in there in the 6th round is kind of stupid.
So, I mean, right, I have it's like Kluber, Nola, Wheeler, Paddock, Giolito are all kind of in the same tier for me.
Yeah.
And I could see all of them going with the way that everyone's been hounding pitchers so far. I know Bobby's got to do some stuff. Yancy has to do some stuff. Collette's probably going to get one. So weird.
I mean, I wouldn't have been afraid to dip back in. I know I got 2 of these guys, but we're playing in a 12-man. There are some I know you want to pound hitting, and I totally agree, but there's some really good values, and we're only 3 outfielders in this one. So
exactly. Yep.
I would not have strayed away come my pick, which I'm actually up again here next. I would have thought about taking Paddock for sure, and now I will not. And if Paul Sporer just stays away from my guy, then
I'm going to say it's Aaron Judge. I'm going to say it's Aaron Judge again. I mean, I imagine you would have taken Suarez because you need a third baseman, and that still follows the same mentality.
Yeah, I got 2 guys that I'm looking at here, and did I?
Alex Fest calls me a coward for taking. Oh, that's Real Muto in the 6 is solid. We'll talk to Sporer in just a second, but I want to hear your pick first.
So I'm battling between 2 guys right now, and it's obviously Judge for what I'm doing, but third base is about to fall off of a cliff. And
I mean, there's Matt Chapman out there.
There is Matt Chapman. I like Matt Chapman, but there's also a guy that I really like, and I think his team could be very competitive in a short season, and he's going to help me with batting average a bit too. So I'm gonna go with Vladimir Guerrero.
There you go. That's I understand that pick a lot.
Yeah.
Well, good luck with that. We all want Vlad Jr. to excel.
Nick, that's a good luck with that. Like, good luck with that.
Good luck. We want it to to right. That's what I mean.
I know.
Good luck.
And hopefully he hasn't been sitting around, eating a bunch, and he was actually lifting some tires or, doing something productive. And he did, he made a big deal about all that weight that he lost. So let's make sure that it's still lost.
I think it's, I'm just double checking, by the way. There was a question if I set this up that that the draft doesn't have any relievers, which should not be the case.
I think you set it up for pitcher, but I don't think
it did. I just want to make sure that I did. So just got to take a quick.
Yeah, I'm going to look at the draft board as well, or I'm sorry, the team rosters you have. Yeah, I mean, all your pitching category. If you look at the draft board,
it's just P. Yeah, okay. Cool.
Yeah, so you're not mandating it if somebody wants to actually punt the category.
Exactly. All right. So, by the way, Clay Link, I love that Nick Castellanos pick. I think he's going to be phenomenal this year. But anyway, thanks for being here, Welsh. I'm going to jump now to Sporer. I want to hear you on the other ones. Thanks, man.
Cool.
All right, Sporer. How you doing, man? Good to see you.
Nick, I'm well. How are you, bud?
I'm doing great. Look at this. Get it out of the ocean. I love it.
Right.
Love it. I'm loving your team so far, honestly.
Thanks.
Even though it does contain a pitcher in the 4th round, I think that's the right call there, especially after a lot of starters. Corbin, I would rank above Castillo, right there with Snell and Morton, pretty much.
Yeah, I got him pretty high too.
So, Arenado, Freeman, Torres, Laureano, Real Muto. I think that's a solid team.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with how it's developing. I think a lot of things have fallen to a way that I'm happy with. I was trying to go a lot of offense, and then get a pitcher somewhere in the 3 to 5 range. Got Corbin there in the 4th round. Feel good about it. got some power, got some speed, not crazy speed, really some contributions, and then Laureano as my main speed guy right now, but also address some positional scarcity with Real Muto. I know catcher can be a little wonky. I got the best one out there in the 6th round. So yeah, this is kind of interesting. You know, obviously we have old ADPs to work off, but I don't think they're really valuable right now. So we're kind of doing our own thing, and it's been fun to see how things go.
Look at this. Chris Towers getting his 4th starter in a row, and it's the 6th round.
He's going the anti-us.
I know.
And Yancy, who doesn't even have any.
It's painful seeing that block of red there.
Look at Yancy and Bobby bookending Towers, and they don't have a pitcher until that Kluber pick right there.
Which I had a feeling I wouldn't get if I waited another round. That's why I went after Paddock, which was so weird. I've never done that. But I wanted to talk about Arenado in the 1st round because you passed on the popular trio of Lindor, Turner, and Story for Arenado. Is that something you were doing before the short season, or is now because the short season you feel like that's more important?
No, I think Arenado is honestly like a top 5 pick. I mean, what does he have to do to get the confidence of everybody? Yeah, he doesn't run. I cringe so hard when people say that. Like, okay, and I find that to be such a weak reason to not take Nolan Arenado when he's like the most consistent power hitter that we have over the last few years with an elite batting average and a ballpark that sustains him brilliantly. Now you throw in the 60 days, no cold weather in Colorado, at least on the front end. September could still be a bit cold. And I don't know. I'm not really sure how he was there at 8. I mean, I don't look at any of these picks and say, oh my gosh, how did they take these picks? But I was glad to take him. I'm a huge Arenado backer. He's such an easy pick. And I think it's because he's gotten kind of boring for people that they want to mix it up. And it's like, okay, have fun with that.
Well, the one argument I do understand about going after the shortstops, of course, is getting speed without sacrifice, like you would later on. At the same time, I mean, I've seen Juan Soto, for example, go ahead of Arenado, and I don't understand that. It's pretty much
nonsensical.
Like I understand maybe it was 10 stolen bases last year for Soto.
Yeah.
The difference, though, of consistency with Arenado makes a whole lot of sense. Then you also went Freeman in the 2nd to back that up as kind of 2 of the same ilk.
Yeah, just boring corners. Right. I mean, there's nothing special about them. That's fine. I don't need my picks to be flash. Sometimes I like to take flashy picks, don't get me wrong. But sometimes you just take guaranteed power and batting average from 2 rocks on one on a quality team with Atlanta and Freeman, and then another on a quality offense, at least, if only because of his ballpark. I know sometimes that even when they're scoring runs, their offensive ranks aren't high. I don't care. They're scoring runs. So whatever their WRC plus is doesn't matter because they're scoring at home. They're going to play plenty at home. And so, yeah, I felt great to take those 2 as anchors and then kind of get into some of the more fun picks with like a Gleyber Torres and Ramon Laureano, who are a bit more on the up and up.
So very quickly before I ask about your next pick, why Torres over Altuve?
Well, the dual eligibility helped for one, and I'm not going to bend over backwards for speed. I think that's the wrong play. When speed is this scarce, you don't need as much of it. So people that again, make a case that you can't take Arenado in the 1st round because of speed, I think they're completely playing it wrong with regards to how you should address this. And I'm not saying I'm outwardly punting speed, but again, you simply don't need as much to compete. So why would I, why would I go too crazy over getting it?
Sure. So who are you going now in the 7th round? What's your thought process here?
So I think I'm going to maximize Torres's positional flexibility here, throw him over to shortstop, and take my boy who this shirt is based off of, Maxwell Muncy.
Oh, what? You like Max Muncy? This is crazy.
I know. I never bring it up.
Man, the guy I want actually at the end of the 7th here is still around. And we might see it. I don't know if Eno, KC, or Al are watching. I think everyone will kind of know who that is if you guys know me. It's the hole that I often like to fill around the 7th or 8th round. If possible. I didn't actually expect to get it. I was probably just going to go 2 pitchers and figure out.
Let me look at your team here and see if I can
figure
puzzle this together.
Chapman, okay, I got 3 picks to go. I can do this.
So you're saying it isn't a pitcher?
I mean, I'm going to go 1 pitcher here.
Okay, 1 pitcher.
Possibly 2.
Okay.
Oh, man, there's so many good players left. Well, I'd be very happy with any essentially 1 bat and 1 pitcher here. The pitcher I'm probably going to go with is either Sonny Gray or Zach Wheeler.
Gray was who I was eyeing for you.
I mean, I know I've talked a lot about Zach Wheeler, having pretty much back to back right now. Considering I have Paddock,
you have two outfielders. Are you going first base?
Yeah.
Okay. Is it?
You want to make a guess?
Is it LeMahieu?
Yes.
Okay.
I love LeMahieu way too much.
Me too. And triple eligibility is so hot too.
Which I don't need, unfortunately.
You never know during the season.
That's a good point.
You
That's
never
a very
know.
good point. And then I'm gonna stick to my rankings, my gut, and go with Zach Wheeler.
Okay.
So Sonny Gray. Just
duo
because
right there.
I believe in the transition going to Philly, and that his blueprint of four seamers and sliders should be absurdly good, especially with Real Muto there helping. I mean, that's a really good point that you made about eligibility, especially with COVID, of course, and we will have ghost ILs essentially.
I really think people should continue to favor eligibility. I think it's hard to quantify, and even the folks who make projection systems every year struggle with, how many dollars to say something's worth, and is having the shortstop eligibility worth more than having first base eligibility, etc. I get it, but I value it, so I would lean on the higher end of the overall market as far as valuing eligibility.
Well, anyway, Sporer, thanks so much for being a part of this. I will obviously circle you back to you as we go on with this, but really, thanks for being a part of this for a great cause. And yeah, this is fun.
Sounds great, Nick. Thanks so much for having me on, man.
Of course. All right, so we're going to add Clay Link here. For those wondering, Trout is fifth because there's the anticipated 2-week quarantine he'll have for being with his wife as he has a child. But Clay, good to have you, man.
Hey, Nick, appreciate you having me, dude, and good cause. I appreciate you doing this. Good to be drafting again.
Yeah, right? I mean, I figure we're all
good.
needing this badly to do these, so hopefully we can organize more of these moving forward too. But yeah, for everyone tuning in now, of course, donate to Dream. This is why we're here today. We're raising money for a fantastic charity. It helps minority communities with child development, using baseball as a fantastic conduit for lots of skills, of course. Definitely donate it to it. It's fantastic. That's why we're here. So follow that link, wearedream.org/donate. Leave a receipt of your donation on Twitter inside that major thread. And we're giving away a PL Plus membership to someone who does donate. So go ahead and do that. Anyway, Clay, let's talk about your draft. How happy were you getting Mookie Betts at number 6?
I was very happy. I have him now up at 3, just ahead of Trout, just because of the uncertainty with Trout. I would not blame him one bit for, and I expect him to take some time away. Then how long does he have to quarantine himself? I don't know, but just that uncertainty has me moving Betts up to 3. So I was happy to get him. I admit that it was after the fact, after the draft got started, that I realized the active hitter pitcher split is 10-9. So that really pushes up pitching a lot. And quote unquote standard leagues with 14 active hitters and 9 pitchers, I'm pushing pitching down generally, but I think with this split, I kind of scrambled and made sure I got a couple guys like Darvish and forget the first. Bieber as well. So yeah. I wanted to be sure, and I'm actually going to take another one right now. A guy I'm a little higher on than most, Jose Barrios. I love the setup, obviously, and now he gets I forget the exact percentage of his schedule, but against the Tigers and Royals, he'll be maybe making 3 to 4 starts, so that'd be great.
Yeah, I remember actually talking to Derek Carty at the beginning of last year, and he said, look, I'm going after a lot of Twins guys because of those lineups in the AL Central, and of course, Barrios is not going to be removed from a lot of them still this year. And I got to say, your hitters, I mean, Tatis Jr. talked to Lyman, who, again, said, look, it was a stress fracture. It's not something that should be lingering. It's not like a slipped disc or anything like that. So we shouldn't be worried about the health of Tatis Jr. Pairing that with Betts, you have speed essentially handled. Bogarts, Castellanos, Chapman, all players that I've found myself taking a lot and rostering on my teams as well. So a big fan of all of those players as well. And I mean, as you go forward with this, do you find yourself now you're thinking, okay, 9th and 10th round, you're also going to go for a starter considering of that 9-10 split that you're just talking about?
Yeah, I probably will. I have a couple guys in my queue, although one slugger is still hanging around. I'm pretty shocked that he's still available.
I was so tempted to take Jorge Soler. I know.
Yeah, that's exactly who. I was kind of in the skeptical camp initially, but then as the offseason wore on, I just kind of realized myself and the whole community is not giving him enough credit for what he did last year. It was spectacular. And everyday playing time, man, I think I want to avoid platoon bats. The threshold for platoon players is going to be really high, and to consider starting them in fantasy. So everyday bats, and I think he's has no business hanging around still.
So you just reminded me of another thing that I always forget to do, because I've hosted a lot of mock drafts in my day now in the past year, and I keep forgetting to say, is Shohei Ohtani a two-way player or not? And he is not. He is a one-way. So there's going to be Shohei Ohtani, the DH, built inside of Clicky Draft as a DH. And then you can select any other player that you want as just Ohtani, the starting pitcher. We've often done like Chris Davis with a C, because no one would do that one, unfortunately. And I would suggest another pitcher, but at the same time, I don't want to speak ill of another pitcher. So whatever you guys want, when that time comes, we can do that. But yeah, they're split. And I'm thinking about platooning. I'm like, oh yeah, platoon bats. Well, if you get Shohei Ohtani, the DH, it's actually kind of good, but then you need something else that would match him on the other days when he doesn't hit. There goes Soler. You almost got him.
Yeah,
got
close.
him back.
Surprising that he's still hanging around, but I feel like avoiding platoon bats and loading up on playing time, it's already one of the easier ways to separate yourself and gain an edge. But especially this year with everything so bunched up in the standings categories, you just cannot be sacrificing playing time.
Yeah, I completely understand that. And last thing here, who are you taking and why?
All right, so Paxton just went off the board. He wasn't really in the mix for me. He was down my list a little ways. Should be healthy now, ostensibly healthy, but I'm skeptical about him holding up. And this is going to be uncharted territory with these pitchers. We just, ramping up. But I'm going to take Lance Lynn, kind of the pitching equivalent of Jorge Soler, just not getting the credit he deserves, and I was guilty of that myself. But I now have Lynn 88th overall.
So here's the thing. I was just thinking about this right now as I'm thinking, okay, I need to take two starters essentially in my next two picks. And I'm thinking about Lance. I'm like, oh yeah, he's not going to let himself be babied into this. Like the Rangers are just going to take him, just go. And I'm finding myself thinking like, okay, I should be focusing more on the starters that are going to get the chance to go 6 innings in that first start they make.
Didn't they basically say that? Like they're on the other side of the coin from like the Braves, where they are going to turn the guys loose?
Right. I would imagine so, right?
Mm-hmm. I think they kind of hinted at that, yeah.
So I would think that Mass and Bumgarner, 100%, like go and do your thing. No one's going to do that. And you know what? I get to take Zach Gallen for once, guys. I appreciate all of you for letting me do that. It's been a while, but I got to do that. But anyway, so awesome having you here, Clay, if I can speak clearly. And I mean, this is a great cause, and yeah, this is super fun. Hopefully we get to do this again with you soon.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Nick. All the best to you, man.
All right. Thanks, man. All right. I want to bring back DVR to the show. DVR, what has changed since, and why? I mean, you went away from pitching, you got 5 hitters, and you thought, you know what, maybe I should go back to 1.
Yeah, kind of part of this run, I went with James Paxton. I was kind of playing a game of chicken with Brandon Woodruff, hoping to maybe get Paxton and Woodruff, just trying to read the room, and I read the room incorrectly in this case. So knowing how it played out, maybe I would have taken Woodruff in that spot instead if I could do it over. There's not much that separates those guys. I mean, I think with Paxton being completely healthy as spring training 2.0, summer camp, whatever we're calling it, as that begins, it certainly makes me feel pretty good about his chances of being a top 15 starting pitcher this season. I mean, he's got a great bullpen protecting his leads. He's going to get plenty of run support. I think every single win is going to be more important than ever in a season like this. So
definitely,
I do feel like there was kind of good value with all of those guys. I just heard Clay Link talking about Lance Lynn. Luzardo, I think, was a great pick in that spot as well. So if you were light on pitching to this point, this was a great time to get in and maybe get that SP2 if you didn't already have it.
Yeah, it's I guess I'm really curious. You made a great point about we need those wins. Paxton wins. That's like Yankees, great opportunity there. That makes a lot of sense. Now going with Woodruff, I've been moving away from him a little bit because we saw how they treated Woodruff last year in September. I know it was off of an injury, but they had no hesitation saying, all right, we're going to get like 3-4 innings out of you. Then we're going to go to our bullpen. And now that they are going to certainly have those opportunities again to use more relievers, I do wonder if we'll be able to see that 7-inning Woodruff. Now, not to mention that no one really around here is like 7 innings constantly, and Woodruff was kind of an exception at times doing that. But nevertheless, I do have some innings concerns of Woodruff that I could be completely unwarranted. Nothing would make me happier than Craig Counsell just being like, whatever, Brandon. Go ahead. That sounds so great. But I do wonder if that's what we'll see this year.
I think a big part of this season is getting a read on how individual teams are going to leverage the larger rosters, especially early on, and how they're going to possibly consider tandem starters and different things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Thinking about the Brewers, though, Woodruff, to me, as long as he's healthy, he's not going to get that kid gloves treatment. I think the back end of that rotation will absolutely need it. You got a guy in Brett Anderson who they're going to rely on for a lot of innings. You may have Freddie Peralta or Corbin Burns with a spot. Adrian Hauser's not necessarily a guy they're going to let go through the order a third time every single time out. I think the game situation is going to dictate his usage a lot as well. So I do think if he's healthy, Woodruff can get an ace-type workload. The question is, does he truly have ace-type skills? I think he does. I think he's undervalued in most drafts. He caught some helium earlier in draft season, but this is one of the more reasonable prices I've seen on him in a long time.
Yeah, I mean, I get that. There's also Josh Lindblom there too, who I do wonder if he will be able to go as deep, and Craig Counsell like, okay, this is not the day that we use our pen a lot. So I'm really curious about that. Now, of course, it comes right up to your pick now. Where are you going here? Are you thinking another starter?
I got to get a closer. I hate to do it at this point, but I actually have Ken Giles in my circle of trust among closers. I think the Jays in this short season, they become a bit more interesting. I like the idea of 16 teams making the playoffs because I think in that scenario, they're probably 35% likely to make the playoffs. But I don't think they're going to be bad enough to just trade him away. I don't think there's going to be a lot of trading anyway. I think as long as he doesn't do something stupid like punch himself in the face and give himself a concussion, he's legitimately at least a top 10 sort of closer. So, he's in that group. I do like Liam Hendricks just as much. I like Taylor Rogers as much. So the time kind of felt right. And I think one priority for me is to make sure that I get at least one of my top 10 closers this year, and then maybe try to figure out the rest later, depending on how the room goes. Because I think the difference between closer 15 and closer 25 right now is next to nothing. I think teams are going to be really quick to make changes if they don't like what they're getting in the late innings from their relievers.
Yeah, I'm so scared to draft a closer in the first 8 rounds or so right now, just because there's so much opportunity for managers to not have a set closer and to essentially use them as firemen, their best relievers at the best situations. And they have so many options to close out games at this point that I do feel it's going to be a lot of vulture saves and random things. And it's going to be really hard to nail down. I would much rather play that wire game later than not wasting, but feeling like I missed an opportunity to get that starter that I needed, or my first baseman now is just like, it's just not good because of that. So I'm holding back currently in mocks. I might find myself with more confidence as we hear more from managers during summer camp. Yes, I'm calling it summer camp because I miss Camp Beckett. It was a wonderful camp. And if I can reference that as much as possible, I will. But yeah, it's I don't know if I'm going to be jumping at it just yet. But I mean, here's the thing too, is like the Cardinals situation. We'll get clarity with that at some point, I think. Like between Jordan Hicks, maybe he might need another week or two. Very significant part of the season. But then maybe it's Gallegos for those 2 weeks, and then I can swap in with Hicks or Hazley. I remember we were getting a lot of hype about. I hope Chris Towers didn't just disappear again. He did not. Good to see. There goes David Price, which I'm so upset about. Yancy Eaton, stop looking at my list. I'm joking. You did not look at my list, but I'm upset. I'm just going to say crazy things like that. But anyway, I want to get to a couple other guys here, DVR. Thanks for being a part of this, and I'm sure we'll circle back to you very shortly.
All right. Thanks again for having me on, Nick.
Of course. Yance, did you follow my list? What was that, David Price? But come on.
Yeah, I've been caught holding the bag. I did not expect in multiple instances. I'm just so confused by what's going on with starting pitching. I didn't expect them to be taken as early, and then I thought that everybody would kind of slow down a little bit, and then we're seeing 8-9 picks of starting pitchers in like between the 9th and 10th rounds.
Yeah,
it just keeps catching me off guard, and I can't remember who alluded to it earlier. I think it was the Welsh, where he's talking about He was expecting to see closers get pushed up a little bit more, and I was as well. And all of a sudden, it was a little bit of a panic pick, but Josh Hader sitting there. And while I do think that he isn't going to get as many pure save chances, I do think he's going to find himself with more wins than I think a lot of starting pitchers are. You couple that with the fact that, he's going to strike out basically what, like a starting pitcher is going to do. I think he's just a really interesting pick here. And I'm going to need the ratio help because I did wait so long on starting pitching. My SP1 is Sonny Gray and my SP2 is David Price, which can work out, but I would have liked that a lot more a couple of months ago whenever David Price didn't have to go against, designated hitters and stuff half the time. But this is a really weird team, and I was really caught off guard by all of the different strategies. I honestly thought that pitching would have been pushed way down, and now I'm kind of like being left holding the bag right here.
I mean, you got Soler in the 9th round. Like that, I understood you were definitely in position wondering, do I need to go for a starter right now, or can I just squeeze in this Jorge Soler?
Yeah.
And you might feel some regret there that you missed out on another starter, but you also got Jorge Soler, who had over 45 home runs last year. That's pretty nuts. And to see that kind of extreme talent for 60 games would be very, very valuable. So I'm just upset you got David Price. I imagine you're going for another starter here. There it is. Oh, how dare you?
Yeah. Yeah, to be honest with you, so if you look at my team, I have Nelson Cruz at DH. I have Cody Bellinger at first base. I have Stanton. I have Tommy Pham, who's a 2020 threat. I have Jorge Soler. So I have a ton of power. I have a ton of speed. I'm just going to have a stranglehold on home runs, possibly runs, RBI. I toyed with making my second util spot right here, actually, Franmil Reyes, and just completely running away with home runs and RBIs here. But that is a little bit of overkill. I do need to catch up with starting pitching. I think Matthew Boyd's a great opportunity to do that. Just, I'm not sure if we're going to see I'm not sure what the third pitch is going to look like. I'm not sure if we're going to see all of the progress he made in spring training carry over. But at this point, I have to start going for some volume guys, and I have to start going for strikeouts, or it's not going to last. It's not going to make it back to me.
No, I think that's the right kind of pick you should be making right now. I expect to see Caleb Smith on your team later on as well, for that very reason. But I mean, this is the crazy part about these drafts, that we really don't have that foundation that we normally have, right? It's kind of like the November mocks that we do, because the game has changed and we haven't had the proper time to figure it all out quite yet. And honestly, we still don't know everything about it. So it's really crazy. I'm about to make my picks.
What are you thinking here? Actually,
I was going to take Franmil, but he's gone.
Yeah.
I'm tempted to take Kepler. Essentially, I'm thinking like, look, I have 2 outfielders right now. I need one more. I could just wait longer and take a fun one later. But it'd be nice to have. I mean, look, I honestly love Max Kepler. I don't think he gets enough respect. And I'm probably going to do that. Now, there is also just some really fun hitters just hanging out. Like Rhys Hoskins is still there. And I feel like the 12th round would be a good moment to get. I know there's a risk, and everyone's like, oh, well, there's some question about him. And shortened season, don't want to do that. I'm thinking also when it comes to starters, I mean, there isn't anyone that's jumping out right now. I could go Carlos Martinez.
I mean, you do have 4 starting pitchers here.
I know, but I don't really need to do that. So I think I'm okay at this point. I think I honestly go Rhys Hoskins. I think he's just the best overall hitter available. So
is the plan here? Is that a util, or are you going to use DJ LeMahieu as your first baseman? Like, what is your plans as far as flexibility?
It doesn't really matter for me. Yeah. So let's put Rhys as the util and DJ at first base. I essentially have my offense now. Say for catcher would be my last pick. I just one more utility along the way somewhere. Now I could have taken. I should make it clear inside of that message, and I will do it right now. That this is 2-player Ohtani. That is one way, not 2-way.
Okay. Yeah, he was another surprise as well, him going as early as he did. I think it was back in the 6th round, 7th round.
Ohtani?
Yeah, Ohtani, yeah.
Where's Ohtani? Ohtani hasn't gone.
Yeah, he has in the 7th. Sporer took him.
Osuna. No, Muncy. Oh, okay. There's DH Ohtani. Okay. All right. So I hope he heard me, because I said to someone that it was one, like, all right. I don't know which one that is. Did he announce which one that is? Did he say it's starter? I don't know.
I haven't seen it in the chat, but we'll obviously we'll figure it out.
Whatever. We're
While
just
I have you here,
one thing or another, and then move forward.
yeah, while I have you here, what is your general strategy with closers? Like, what are you planning on doing? Are you going to continue waiting and just keep stockpiling more hitters, or what are you doing?
No, I feel bad for Sporer. He heard after, but nevertheless, I mean, it's still not terrible. I think we should treat that as the starter. I mean, I'll let Sporer choose which one he wants that to be. But I like taking starter Ohtani, for example. Not terrible. I know everyone's scared about it. Nevertheless, the quality per start is still very high. So I know it's 8 starts versus the 11 or so. That's okay. It's 3 starts. It's a massive thing. Yes. But I think you'll start Ohtani every single time and be happy with that production that he gets. They obviously will let him go, I think, in the starts that he does, because he'll be so limited. I don't think I think he shouldn't be forgotten about, especially around rounds 10, 11 or so as a starter.
Yeah.
Now with relievers, yeah, I probably should have taken one there in the 11th or 12th, considering how many had already been snatched up. Probably should have passed on Max Kepler or Hoskins there. I already kind of regretting it now that I look at the reliever pool, but I don't know. I kind of don't want to mess with it right now. I think it's just
so you're gonna go the Joe Jimenez, Keone Kela route kind of thing. You're gonna hope for 4 or 5 saves.
I would honestly play some games on the wire, kind of figure that things out as it goes on.
It's scary. I will say this just as a general thought. Yes, the leashes on these starting or on these closers is going to be much shorter, right? Because you have to win every single game. So you expect to have a quick hook. If somebody's struggling, they're going to be supplanted. But also you just have less opportunities to get the next guy. You know what I mean? If 2 closers roll over or they turn over in 1 week and you miss out on both of those, that may be your only opportunity to catch up and save. So like, I like leaving the draft with one that I feel really good about. I know we mentioned Hader before. There's a possibility that he's just like one heck of a reliever, but I still think he gets a ton of wins and a ton of strikeouts. So I'm not worried about that. But I've noticed in these drafts, once you start getting into this Nick Anderson range, when you see like the one guy that takes Nick Anderson, all of a sudden it's like, okay, so he's, it's a volume play, it's a strikeout play. But you really have to start looking at this, because you'll see 6 or 7 closers go in a row, and the next thing you know, like you're drafting Michael Givens, like wondering what happened. Right,
exactly.
You know what I mean?
Hopefully it won't come to that. Yance, thanks a lot for taking the time here. I'm going to keep going through everyone here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fun draft, and thanks for being here.
Yeah, no problem.
All right, so we got Cauliflower here. That is Jason Collette, who just took Danny Santana in the 12th round. Why'd you do that?
Getting back to the multi-position thing you and Sporer were talking about earlier. Ultimately, that's where I came down, because I've seen the last few rounds. Let's see, I was going to take way back when I texted Yancy, said he's a jerk for taking Hader panicking, because that's exactly who I was going to take there. And then, coming back around, I was recently got snaked on, was hoping that Yasmani Grandal would fall, because I was going to take him, who I really like. And then there was another one that happened, Edwin Diaz, 2 picks after I took Kenta Maeda. I took Maeda, and I was like, okay, I'll take my closer on the way back. Diaz should be there. He wasn't. And then Hand went, who I didn't like anyhow, but I ended up taking Anderson because he was the next guy I had. So it's, there's, you said Yancey's reading your draft book. Well, somebody's been looking at my list too, because I've had like 5 or 6 dudes just like pop, pop, pop. I'm like, oh well.
No, I'm messing around, of course, with Yancy too. But so now you're also going to get a pick coming up here, and you took my boy Kenta Maeda. By the way, I love that pick. I think Kenta is not getting enough love. It's kind of weird. Everyone else is going to get their innings shrunk, while his actually are going to expand. For once, it's weird. It's finally the scenario where like, oh yeah, you're not going to hit your innings contract limit 140 this year, so who cares? Just go and do whatever you want through 10 starts. Have a ball, Kenta Maeda.
Yeah,
so I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, I'm with this. We'll see what happens. I've got one more. I've got catcher, and I've got a utility spot open for hitting. And I've pretty much decided I want to take Crush Davis here with this pick on the rebound. If he goes, then I don't know what I'm going to do. But so we'll see if Chris or Yancy take him. But that's kind of where I'm leading. And I don't think Yancy can I think he's loaded on those types. So there went Iglesias, and we'll see what Yancy does. But I know that he kind of wavered on taking Soler, who I was going to take. That was the other guy. I was going to take him, and I ended up taking Brantley in that spot instead. So if he doesn't take Crush Davis, I'm going to go ahead and fill that last utility spot with him.
Nice. And I was a little surprised. I mean, I feel like there was definitely for your team construction a gap between Soler and Brantley, considering JD Martinez, Marte, Moncada even there too, Bichette. I feel like a lot of these guys are good average floors for the most part. I could see Eloy having a higher average this year. Same with Jose Abreu. And so Soler was someone that you could take that jump for. I'm not surprised to see Yancy there go for a start. That's his fourth starter there. Makes a lot of sense given how he's constructed his team thus far. I totally made the colors too close for relievers and DH. I didn't think it would be this close together. Otherwise, I mean, I make sure everyone sees the same one, by the way. I like these colors versus the default ones. But
they are very close.
Too close.
Like one tannin away from
I know they do like a deep blue, but like then you can't really read the text as much as you want.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, this pink purple thing should be fine. Nope, never mind.
Wow.
But I'll definitely correct that next time. But anyway, there you got your boy Chris Davis. Is there any other picks that you really wanted to say like, look, I'm so happy I got this guy in that round?
No, not really. I just had a lot of guys getting taken from me. That's where I've tried to balance it out and say, okay, I need this particular skill, this particular position. I've just been looking through and trying to, as Welsh was talking about, a mass contribution, just looking for as much production as possible. And then the points Clay made about the 10-9 split on the pitching, I thought was an excellent point as well. And so I think I've got enough offense base now where I probably next come through, I'll go back-to-back pitcher again like I did with picks 10 and 11.
Well, I'm excited to see what that is because you're probably going to take some of the guys that I would want to have taken instead. So, all right, we'll be checking back in with you later. Good luck getting those two guys.
All right, buddy. Thanks.
All right, Bobby, speaking of getting two starting pitchers, that's what you did, finally getting three. You got your second starter in Dinelson Lamet and your third in Lance McCullers. Jr., how are you feeling about this?
Not good, man. Not good. Here I am sitting there in the 10th round. Okay. I almost walked away after the 9th round because I had my two guys and I was certain they were going to fall to me. Nobody's going to tank Kente Maeda and David Price ahead of me. I'm getting both these guys, no doubt about it. I didn't even have a backup plan. And then what happens? Jason goes and he gets Kenta. And then David Price goes to the very next pick. I'm still fuming about it, man. So, like, look, I love Dinelson Lamet in the 12th round. That's fine. I reached for Lance McCullers, but I like him a lot. But I would have much rather had Kluber and then Maeda and then Price. That would have been a nice start. As it is now, man, I'm just bummed.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to be bummed in mock drafts. It happens to me all the time. I'm actually kind of excited because the reliever pool I thought would be a lot worse right now.
Don't talk about it until like it's back to me so that I can get two more of them before the run.
I'm about to get two because I didn't actually think I would be, but considering I have four starters now that I feel pretty good in Paddock, Wheeler, Bumgarner, and Gallen, I could jump back in. And I want to talk about the two that you got specifically, but I see Brandon Workman out there. And Michael Jedov had a fantastic article about him today. Everyone should read that on the site.
He was amazing last year.
And everyone should go to the link below wearedream.org and donate there. Fantastic cause is the reason why we're here today. We're going to be doing more of these in the future, but today's foundation is Dream, a fantastic one for youth development. Everyone should go to that link and donate. But I'm going to get Brandon Workman, definitely. Now I don't know. I feel like Chicago White Sox are going to just let Alex Colomé do their thing. Like, I don't see someone in that pen that's like, okay, Alex Colomé, sorry, get out of here. Like, they seem like they would do that. So I'm probably going to go for him. I could see Sean Doolittle, but maybe they would do the Daniel Hudson thing as they did. I don't.
Right.
I'm gonna go with Alex Colomé and double up there. Feel okay with my relievers. Not have to play too much of that game. Not to mention, all I need is one more utility, and now I can just feel so happy because my favorite part of drafts, Bobby, is taking all the pitchers that I want.
I feel the same way.
Fun guys, like.
The thing is, I want to draft like 50 pitchers. So that's why I wait so long, is because it's like, well, I'm not going to be as excited about the hitters later. So I've still got pitchers I'll be excited about. So I'll just wait, right?
So on that topic, then you finally got your chance. Okay, cool. I can take some pitchers. Why'd you go with Lamet and McCullers?
Just pure upside, baby. I mean, these guys could be amazing. Lamet in his last 50 innings last year. So it took a little bit of time for Lamet to, get it going, because it was basically like his spring training when he came back from, a full year off with injury. And then after that happened, his final 50 innings, 75 strikeouts. His ratios were excellent. I mean, he was one of the best starting pitchers in all of baseball. And this is who he was as a rookie, too. It looked like he was just going to be a monster. and then he got hurt. Lance McCullers, same thing. He was on pace to be a Cy Young contender until he got hurt again. And I get it. Both these guys have some injury risk. Corey Kluber has some injury risk. But you know what? I love to draft 7 or 8 high upside starting pitchers and figure I'm going to hit on 4 or 5 of them. And then I'll have a cheap rotation that plays out really well.
It's kind of funny what we were talking about before, like being bookended. I mean, I took Paddock, you took Kluber. It was kind of like I have them pretty even in my head, and
Right.
extended all the way out, and both taken. I mean, I was really upset to see Kluber.
And you took Mad Bum from me too. I was bummed about that. I thought he might drop.
I mean, it was that was an easy one, I think, because as I was saying earlier in this draft, I'm starting to gravitate more to guys that I feel that they'll allow them to go deeper into the games from the first year. Bumgarner is certainly one of those in my head. And the Sheriff Paddock, the Padres are like, all right, just go to do that, you know? So that's kind of why I was leaning there. But I would say that also about Corey Kluber. Now, McCullers and Lamet, I have some reservations there. I wonder if
you do. Yeah.
will baby McCullers still, even though they were going to innings limit him. But was that going to be drawn out through the year? If so, that means then they're just going to cut that in half, and they're still going to baby his actual pitches per game. Lamet,
Right.
Lamet is Professor Chaos, right? Because it's like you see strike zone plots, and it's just a scatter plot. Like it's not any sort of correlations and grouped up. It's just everything everywhere. So I mean,
I think this stuff is just so good that it doesn't matter where he throws it. They're not going to be able to hit it.
The secondary, the breaking ball is so good. It's not. I don't think it's a slider and a curveball. I think it's one slider, but it's weird. He kind of manipulates it differently, and it's so effective. But his heater is, I don't know. He doesn't command it well. His changeup is like not good at all. So I am concerned about that. Now, you only have 3 starters. Who are the 2 guys you're going for here?
Hold on just a second. Carson Kelly just went ahead of Wilson Ramos.
I mean, I'll get to Collette later.
Sure. That's interesting. I'm having a hard time with this pick. I'll tell you what, because I need some more closers. And Kella and Leclerc are still out there. But there's 2 starting pitchers I really love. I don't think they're going to drop back to me. I'm just going to say the names because the purpose of this mock draft, of course, is to educate the people who are listening. They want to know what we're thinking. It's Carlos Martinez and Rich Hill. And Rich Hill's a total wild card, right? Because in most home league drafts, he's not going to go until round 20, 21, 22. People are going to forget about him. In this league, man, he's going to be gone. He's going to be gone this round, right? Here goes Joe Musgrove. How mad are you?
Get out of here, Towers. Got 4.
It's my pick. Okay, so Leclerc was taken. So I'm going to get the best of both worlds. I'm going to go Keone Kela. Then I'm going to go get Carlos Martinez. Maybe Hill will drop to me. I'm not expecting it, but in a home league, I would expect to get him next round.
Cool. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing who you get with your next ones, and I'm sure going to snipe. I'm one of these pitchers that you're hoping to get next round. So we'll talk about that later. Good to have you here, Bobby.
Yeah.
All right, Welsh. It's good to see you again.
Yeah.
What has changed?
Night Fest. Good Lord. I'm sorry. It's like literally it has been left and right. Sporer has been killing me. Every time you guys talk, anything that comes out of your mouth, I'm like, stop it. Carlos Martinez. I was like, come on. What's up?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. What was your question?
Sorry. It's a mock, fortunately, but I feel like you do, man. I want all of these. I want to get it right every time. Great. There goes Weaver. Thanks, Yance.
Yeah. I mean, Carlos Martinez was 100% where I was gonna pivot with this pick, and it's just been kind of, I mean, it's, it's the classic mode of dealing with mock drafts and why it's so good. I have had points of being like, all right, maybe this guy is going to last to me, or having to pivot. And I had 3 straight rounds, 10 through 12, where Sporer went exactly where I wanted. Taylor Rogers, Ramon Reyes, Oscar Mercado, that killed me. And then as I would just, begin to start to make adjustments, like, ooh, maybe Colomé will come back and I can get a third one. Willie Calhoun was the most brutal of the last couple rounds for me. And I've just been having to consistently readjust. And I've got a big outfield hole right now, which I think I got a little too cocky, thinking like, well, there's only 3 outfield spots and it's going to have a lot of value that's going to drop. And it's not. Willie Calhoun going sucks. David Dahl is my second one, but I've been building around speed. I got some more batting average with Justin Turner. I've got a pretty good rotation with 2 top end closers, and I've got 4 starting pitchers, and I am up now.
So the thing is, Merrifield technically has outfield eligibility if there is a second baseman you'd prefer. That you could.
If there only was.
Maybe, I don't know, Mondesi, as you like to say.
Mondesi.
if he has second base eligibility, I don't think he does.
Well, the guy that would have, which I would have made the movement, was Eduardo Escobar, who should qualify at second in most. That would have been a guy I would have put at second and moved Merrifield to the outfield and would have felt pretty good about it. The biggest problem is I just don't love anybody that's here. And to Bobby's point, when I was looking at starting pitching, I've got 4. I went with Robbie Ray with my last pick, just again, accumulating huge strikeouts, and he can do some damage in a short stint. And he's a free agent, so the Diamondbacks are not going to be afraid to just push the innings because they're not going to re-sign him. Yeah. So to that point, I'm going after kind of these high performance under low structure of innings, and Rich Hill's one of those guys. Rich Hill. Who's better than Rich Hill in 100 innings? He can't go 101, but he could go maybe 100. So I would have liked Carlos Martinez because he would have provided me, high-end SP, or if he would have moved to the bullpen. But I got to come back to my strategy here. I'm just trying to accumulate high-end counting stats across the board. So I want strikeouts, I want homers, I want stolen bases, and where I can to even out some of maybe my ERA or batting average differences, I end up taking guys like Justin Turner and stuff. But Rich Hill, he's a deal. Bobby nailed it. Like, he's going to go higher in, much more expert leagues than he will in, just like a Ruben Boob league. So, what are we, round 15? It's a perfect spot for him.
Yeah, we're getting. I gotta minimize. I gotta make this a smaller draft window so everyone can seize these picks. I know this is like a picks for ants at this point.
Yeah, well, there goes all the outfield.
So many picks, guys.
Yeah. What are you gonna do here? Aren't you coming up?
Oh, it's me right now. Actually,
yeah, you're up.
I
already
have
did the closers.
I have a plan. It was to go after Joe Musgrove. Okay, I am going to go Caleb Smith because the more I think about it, the more I think the Marlins just don't care and they're going to let him do his thing. And then I'm going to go Edwin Encarnacion. Because he is essentially in the middle of the Chicago White Sox lineup, and that's just ultimate production as my second util.
I was just looking at him too, and I was going through. I was like, do I have a spot for him? I was looking through, and I just don't. I have that little bit of flexibility, like we talked about at second base, where I could move Whit Merrifield, and that's one of those things you have to be cognizant of. And I'm going to be able to pull some bench guys through. I love so much of what has happened, and you can go through and you can see everybody's different strategies, and you see the people that you think similar to. Sporer has just murdered me on so many different spots, but like I go through and I like the team of what I want to construct this coming year, which has some high variance of like up and downs, and I love the pitching that I usually don't get to do. But there's always that one thing where you're like, come on, and that is my outfield right now, and I really, really hate that I've sat back. And then as we were talking, Brian Reynolds and Lourdes Gurriel went. So outfield sucks. Yeah,
it's kind of funny. I got my 2 outfielders early, Soto and Meadows. I felt really good about. I love Austin Meadows. To get him the start of the 4th, I think is perfect. But I didn't go after another one after that. And Max Kepler, I'm not saying I don't like Max Kepler, but I was really hoping that would be either Franmil Reyes or Michael Conforto instead by this time in the 11th. And it's just, there's a little too much risk. I imagine myself going for another outfielder later for this. So I don't want to give you exactly who I'd be targeting as an outfielder because of that. Yeah. But I think Lourdes Gurriel might have been someone I would have considered in that 15th round.
Yeah, I did. I've been trying to, it's one of those funny things that you do. You're trying to maximize like your ability to, for a guy to come back and try to guess who the rest of your league mates are drafting. And as you're trying to construct a team, and, it just falls apart. It absolutely falls apart. And I find myself in a spot where I see need, but I always have a problem passing up best available, because I feel like, we all do enough, of this that we can, we can reestablish, in any other spot. Like, I feel like I can just pick up off of need. And I've taken advantage a little bit of that with my outfield.
This is certainly the case with 12 teamers. And I know, I very much know that it's a totally different game than a lot of you guys are used to. You're used to 15 teamers, deeper 12 teamers. And I've just noticed, it's essentially, this is the most common game is 12 teamers, or sometimes even, I would say 12 teamers and shallower. It makes up the majority of fantasy players. And in this game, you are able to make those changes. It's kind of the fun part of it, is the flexibility of the season. So
let me throw something else at you. Think about everything that we just went through with baseball and how much unfortunately, we don't want to talk about it because we're all excited because baseball's coming back. But think of the damage that baseball did do to a lot of people. We all saw it on Twitter, and there's a lot of people that were burned really hard. And we've all seen it. Every single one of us in this draft room, we've seen people just, I'm never playing again. I'm not interested. They still think, the season's going to get canceled. So I'm leading to this to all say that how many fun friend leagues are you going to be able to pull 14 other dudes if you're commissioning? 12 and 10-man leagues might be more common than we've ever seen before. And it actually could be funny to skew some of the major sites like, CBS or ESPN or Yahoo to see how many 10 and 12 mans are this year, just because there's not enough people to, fill them all.
So then, man, this will be great. Then you guys can be like, oh, Nick, I totally understand your strategy now. So finally, but anyway, it's great having you here, Welsh. I'm gonna talk to DVR as he just made his 16th round picking, Salvador Perez, and I want to hear his thoughts there. But yeah, I'm sure we'll be coming back to you, of course, as we continue this draft. Thanks, man.
Here. Yeah, man.
All right, Derek, how you doing?
I'm doing well. I think there's a few things I've done wrong. I think first base falls off even more than I realized for a 12-teamer. I thought I could sit back. You sniped me pretty good on Edwin Encarnacion. I mean, I think 240, 250 is probably what you're getting for the batting average, but he's got Crush Davis sort of power. And that's great run production that's going to come from the middle of that lineup too. I'm not worried about playing time. So that pick hurt a little bit.
Sorry, I didn't mean to hurt you.
Well, it's okay. I mean, I got a similar player behind the plate in Sal Perez. I mean,
sure,
playing time will be a little lighter because he's a catcher, but in a short season, how much will the Royals push on him? Is he going to play 55 games or something?
Yeah, it's Sal, he's the guy that he always goes to the point that he had Tommy John, but now he's back from that. They will certainly push him more than the average catcher.
Yeah. So, I mean, I feel pretty good about that. I've got him as a top 6 catcher. I think there's a little bit of a drop outside of the top 8 or 9. So figured it was a good time to fill that. But yeah, I definitely just kind of pieced out on the corners and I am regretting it right now. So I'm kind of curious to see what I'm able to put together in the last couple of rounds.
Man, this is interesting. So you took Kevin Biggio and Huria. I imagine, is one of them eligible in another position? Kevin outfield, I assume?
No, I'll run one out there as a UT. I think 2 utilities gives you a lot of flexibility. I would look at the second utility spot and say that it's anything in terms of you could pick an extra corner, you could pick an extra middle, you could really just go best available.
Right.
You could be more aggressive with actual UT guys if you want to in this format. I think sometimes you could psych yourself out and say, oh, I don't want to take a second baseman for my UT. But Kevin Biggio, I mean, there's power, there's some speed. It's a lineup that's on the rise. There's still a lot to like. I think he fell probably 30 picks later than I expected to see him go. So that was more just a pure value play than something I set out to do from the beginning.
So, I mean, we talk a lot about cliffs that happen, right? You talked about the first baseman one. I mean, I went after LeMahieu in the 7th because I didn't think, I mean, if you look at it after, there's Carlos Santana in the 9th, and then what? What's really the next thing after that? And I didn't really want to go after Carlos Santana. I felt very happy getting LeMahieu, even though I kind of didn't really need the average, but now it lets me go after Kepler and Hoskins later on. But that's a major one that in 12-teamers specifically, it's you have to. There's a lot of people there, but you need to really be aggressive in the first base. And also there is in second baseman too. And it's very interesting for you to see also Huria and Biggio in 13th round, 100%. I would have imagined someone else, say Towers or Eno, I guess, to go after Kevin Biggio a little bit earlier. I see Collette is going after Danny Santana as his second baseman. Maybe I'm overlooking someone. Is Jeff McNeil second base eligibility? Is he eligible?
I think he's first, second, and third, just like LeMahieu, right? Those guys both
right.
3. It's so nice when you have corner and middle from a player, first and third's not bad, but you'd much rather at least have first and second so you get that extra flexibility.
And then, of course, with third baseman, it normally happens around Matt Chapman. When Matt Chapman goes, that's when the cliff goes. Because he's the one after Donaldson, Suarez, Bryant, Machado, typically. And I am curious to see what your plan is for third base. Yuli is first base eligible, not third, I think. I mean, you need one of each anyway. So.
Yeah, I needed both. I don't like Yuli Gurriel. I mean, I was really skeptical of him. Though. Yeah, this is just every player has a price at which you're willing to draft them, I think. Right. And for me, this is where I'm comfortable with Yuli Gurriel. It's more about the lineup around him. He's not going to hurt you in batting average. I'm not buying into last year's power. Clearly, there were some other things going on at Minute Maid Park that may have increased some home run totals. And
I don't know what that could be, but I can understand that that might have happened.
it's at least an explanation for something I didn't understand otherwise as it pertains to Gurriel's power output last year. But I don't really see a lot there to push him for the job this year. So he looks like playing time is pretty safe. He's going to hit higher up in that order than I would actually want him to hit at if I were running that team. So I'm going to take advantage of that as a fantasy player. And I had a question for you, thinking about how you normally play, right? Like you want to wait on pitching, and you still did. And I think where you got Paddock was great. I was thinking about taking another pitcher before you ended up getting Paddock at the end of the 6th round. Have you thought more about being aggressive with aces just because of the makeup of this season and some of the things you've been talking about on the stream today? Just like the way those guys are going to be used, it's going to be different than the 2nd and 3rd and 4th tier pitchers.
It's so strange because we talked about Cole, and like Cole might not be going 6 innings in his first start, and that's crazy to me. There's so much we don't know yet about it. My instinct is that no, we should push down starting pitcher even farther because we're just going to be clumping them all together in value by the end of it. We have like a prop bet that we're doing. We're going to do like this prop bet show with pitcherless staff and stuff, all these random things. It's going to be a really fun thing for us to embrace the chaos of the season ahead. And one of them is the Cy Young winner of 2020 in either the AL or NL would have received 0 Cy Young votes in 2019. Right? Someone that is just, but that's how I envision the season going as I try to concentrate while making a pick. Okay. Duh. Got to get him.
Yeah, Mitch Keller kind of fell on your lap. I mean, you've been talking about Mitch Keller since we were at First Pitch Arizona in November.
I'll take Manaea and Keller, sure. I mean, Manaea should get wins. I imagine actually the A's are going to let him go a bit. His injuries have kind of been more of the attrition variety, less so of just like, I'm just someone that gets injured tomorrow. So I'm okay with this. This makes sense, I think. Anyway, I also kind of feel like my lineup is set at this point. Like, say for a catcher that right now, I mean, I'm kind of surprised to see Carson Kelly 14, and we'll talk to Cauliflower in a moment about that one, which I'm so happy he's embraced. I call him that for StreamYard when he came on the podcast, and ever since now, he's just Cauliflower when he talks to me, and I love it so much. Thank you, Jason Collette. But yeah, to that point about like, should we be going for certain starters earlier now? I think honestly, like you're gonna find, let's say Caleb Smith is like let loose by the Marlins, right? That might be more valuable than, I don't know, a Luis Castillo, where the Reds are like, you know what, let's actually take it slow with you, and that's it. We really just don't know what the game plan is for so many of these teams, that I think it adds more risk to those higher players. I understand that we need to get quality innings as we get them. And maybe with hitters, there's a little bit more of a gray area for that. I still kind of feel that, no, man, there's so many guys. Like last year, Spencer Turnbull had like a 2.5 ERA through his first 2 months. Caleb Smith, hey, first 9 starts at Sporer, and I got into a thing about, hey, that's all it is. That's all that matters.
Anybody can be good for 9 starts. Right. That's the crazy thing about this season.
Exactly. But I feel like for hitters for 2 months, like maybe we'll see like a couple of weeks of a guy, but 2 months, not as believable to me. So that's why I'm like, look, I gotta get more of my stud hitters, much more so, I think, because of that. And now, hey, it's your pick, DVR. Who are you taking?
It came back around. I'm gonna take Yandy Diaz. I mean, I think because of the time he missed with injuries last year, people don't fully grasp the magnitude of his power breakout. I think he does have 1st and 3rd eligibility. So if Yuli Gurriel flops, I got a little bit of cover. I can move him over and pick up a 3rd baseman instead. But I mean, this is a guy, he doesn't strike out a lot. He takes his walks. He hits the ball hard. He's hitting the ball in the air now. I think he's unlocking the raw power that, most of us could see he had just by looking at him.
Yeah.
It's not usually that visually apparent when you look at a person at how hard they should be able to hit a baseball. But Yandy Diaz like kind of does that for us. Kind of just shows us like, I can crush the ball.
I do wonder about the Rays, and we're going to go to the Yants right after this. But the Rays in general, they kind of hold back on letting guys go for that playing time. And I could see Yandy Diaz missing some games. Made me wonder. I mean, not to say that I like Brian Anderson more than Yandy Diaz here, but should that be something we're weighing with Rays hitters in general?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you give them a few more roster spots, and that's one or two more positions that might be platooned. And I think Diaz maybe was just on the outside looking in at that before rosters got bigger. Now they have that opportunity, at least for the first couple weeks of the season, to possibly do that. He does have a little bit of an injury history too. But I think with the Rays, like when they start Diaz, he's got a prominent spot in the order. And I think playing time obviously is important, but where hitters are at in the lineup is going to be huge. Like just getting chances in the top third versus the bottom third, even if you're going to play 85% of the time, that's going to make a pretty big difference because like we said earlier with wins, every run, every RBI, every hit, everything is going to matter this year. So maxing that out with where guys hit in the order is important to me.
I mean, I've had seasons won on the final day by 1 RBI. So, and that's in 162 games. I can't imagine this one. It's going to be absolutely crazy. But all right, DVR, thanks for taking the time with me here. Hopefully we'll get to circle back to you at least one more time. But yeah, thanks for being here for a fantastic cause.
All right, thanks, Nick.
All right, Yance, you just
I'm
took
back.
Wilson Ramos in the 18th round.
Yep.
Were you planning on jumping this early for a catcher?
I wasn't. This is kind of a weird spot where I'm not in love with any of the starting pitchers that are here. I feel like they're just Tobies. I feel like these are guys that I can be fabbing every single week.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I'm not going to be taking John Gray. I'm not going to be taking Dallas Keuchel. Like those are players who could possibly work out, but I just don't see the need. You know, Wilson Ramos was one of the few catchers left that I still think has a resurgence left in him. You know, he was still making tons of contact last year. He had like a negative launch angle, like just all kinds of signs pointing to the fact that he was just hurt and that he's going to rebound. Sure. So it was more of just like it's a really, really safe pick. I flirted with the idea of Will Smith at catcher, but I know a lot of people kind of think that what he was doing wasn't sustainable either. But my roster's in a weird spot right now where I have just an unbelievably stacked offense. Collette was just texting me like, are you going to take CJ Cron? You need a first baseman. I'm like, no, I have Cody Bellinger. I just can't figure out this site how to slot him over to first base. But I have both my utils filled. I have tons of power, speed, stolen bases, positional flexibility. And, you know, for having waited as late as I did for starting pitchers, I actually really like, you know, my rotation right now. I think there is some merit in 12-teamers. I would never do this in 15s, but in 12s, you can build out a rotation of a bunch of 2 and 3 starters and actually feel pretty good about it.
Yeah, it's I mean, okay, let's look at this rotation now. Sonny Gray, David Price, Matthew Boyd, Mike Minor, Luke Weaver, and that's actually kind of what I go for. Is like 4 or 5 guys feel solid with.
Yep.
And then it's about the waiver wire and working out who the 6, 7, 8 guys are through the year. I, of course, can't help myself, and I'm probably going to take like 10 more starters or how many other picks I have left because that's the fun stuff for me. But are you going to jump back into the starter now? I mean, you were saying there were Tobies, so if not, who are you thinking now for your pick?
Man, I don't know. I have 40 seconds right here, so there's like no pressure. I really love the Justin Upton rebound. Like I'm on the. I just think he's been one of the most.
Justin Upton in the 19th round is a phenomenal pick, but that's the 12th round where he went. Justin Upton, I believe too. I think he's someone actually I was considering later on because I wanted a backup for Max Kepler if I felt a little bit better about that. So Verdugo went. I meant to take Verdugo last round. Oh, that's so annoying.
I felt myself
great pick, Towers.
I felt myself saying, you know what, I don't actually need an outfielder here, but I really have to be careful with that. And I think anybody that's watching this needs to be careful whenever you guys are doing your drafts, where don't ever feel safe about your roster construction and thinking that you have enough hitters. I guarantee you, like, you are going to find yourself in situations where you're going, oh my God, I did not realize Dylan Carlson was still there. That sucks so bad. That was the pick. That sucks. Okay. Nice job, Welsh. Okay. But long story short, don't get yourself caught up in these situations where you think you have enough hitters or you're good. I guarantee you there's going to come situations where you're going to wish you had an extra bat. That's not a platoon bat. That's not, getting part-time.
Right.
Like absolutely take as many full-time players as you can. And I mean, this is going to be a huge social experiment to see just how different teams manipulate these rosters. But I guarantee you, hoping that you had an extra Toby, an extra pitcher just sitting on your bench, I don't think that's going to be a consideration. I think you're going to really want these batters.
So here, Sporer takes Mike Fultonevich, by the way. That's a fun conversation to be had. I'm gonna shift over to Towers for that one. But I want to emphasize that was not the Welsh. That was Clay Lincoln took Dylan Carlson.
Oh, my bad.
But I think that's a really good point about hitters is that everyday hitters is so important with this. We need to squeeze everything out we can't because it's just such a short amount of time. There's if you fall behind early, there's less time to catch up. So I'm considering going after a hitter, at least one now with my 2 picks just because of that. But Yance, we'll get back to you one more time here, of course, at the very end, at the very least, to talk about your team construction, how you feel at the end.
Yep.
But good luck with the next couple rounds.
All right. Thanks, Nick.
All right. So remember, everyone, that we're here because we are donating to Dream a Fantastic Foundation to help minorities get another step forward in life with fantastic child development programs where they use baseball as well to teach a lot of necessary skills. It's a fantastic organization. I hope you can donate. If you do donate, leave a receipt inside the Twitter thread, and one recipient, what am I trying to say? One person who submits that will win PL Plus. Man, I cannot talk right now. I'm going to bring on Chris Towers, who is just so proud of my presentation skills. Thank you so much. I needed that. Verdugo is a fantastic pick. I just got to say that.
Thank you. He is someone that I really liked coming into the year, and then he just kind of kept getting, well, the injury, I guess it makes sense why he was sort of getting overlooked. But he's probably going to play from opening day. And I think you're looking at a potential like peak Michael Brantley kind of player. Maybe not quite as many stolen bases as peak Michael Brantley, but
sure, that
kind of, high batting average player with some pop and a good lineup. And, Fenway's a bad park for left-handed power hitters, as Andrew Benintendi is learning. But it's a great place to hit for batting average. And, I think Benintendi's kind of fallen for the trap of trying to hit for power in a way that has not been super helpful for his skill set. But, if Verdugo just sticks with his natural approach and his natural swing, I mean, he could be a batting title contender regularly playing in half his games in Fenway Park.
So I absolutely love that with Verdugo. I kind of went with Eaton instead because guys at the top of the lineup, very important to have in this. Verdugo could slot right there at number 1, taking up Betts' spot. I was gonna say Boots' spet. But yeah, I mean, Eaton, it's kind of interesting. Jeff Zimmerman put out his hitting rankings with projections and actually had Adam Eaton ranked above Anthony Rendon, which really surprised me.
That is stunning.
I think it was because of the stolen base emphasis he was putting inside of those projections. But there's something to be said about Eaton being injury risk, yes, but shortened season, fewer games for it.
It's overblown.
I would go for that.
The injury risk, I generally, anybody who listens to Fantasy Baseball Today or reads any of my writing knows that I think injuries are generally held against players too much. It's like we have so much like scientific thinking in how we approach fantasy baseball. And then with injuries, we're just like, well, it feels like this guy gets hurt a lot, but Adam Eaton basically had one injury. He blew out his knee at the start of the 2017 season, and he was off to an amazing start.
Yeah, that was incredible.
And then 24 runs in 23 games. It was unbelievable. Blows out his knee, comes back the next season, doesn't play every day, but doesn't really, I think he had a hamstring injury at one point in 2018, but for the most part made it through that season okay. And then 2019, he doesn't get hurt at all. He plays 151 games. I think people have sort of forgotten how good Adam Eaton was last season, which is weird because it was last season. But Andrew Benintendi is still going 70 to 100 picks ahead of Adam Eaton on average. And
hey, we've got 10 round difference here.
Yeah, you're kind of hoping Andrew Benintendi has a 2020 pace as good as Adam Eaton's 2019.
Right.
So I think Adam Eaton's he's someone that I personally always forget about, and then every time he comes up, I'm like, why don't people talk about Adam Eaton more? And so, there's also that. He's an easy player to forget because he doesn't have superstar upside, but a legitimate 4-category contributor.
Definitely. And so now you have your pick coming up here. You took Joe Musgrove from me in the 14th. How dare you? You also went with Mackenzie Gore, which is a lot of questions right now.
Yeah.
Now, of course, okay, this is how I'm interpreting that pick is you'll find out in the next 3 weeks before the season starts.
Yeah.
If they say he might come up at some point, are you stashing him for the first 7 days?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I know that's 10% of the season, and so that's sort of problematic in this context, but Mackenzie Gore, I feel about as good as I possibly can about a 20-year-old who's barely seen AA, as I do about Mackenzie Gore. Like, the stuff, by all reports, is awesome. He's got a deceptive delivery. The results last year were unbelievably good. And the Padres have been more than happy to be aggressive about calling guys up. They see this as their competitive window. They see this as an important time in the long-term future of their franchise. If they think Mackenzie Gore gives them the best chance to win, they've shown over the last 2 seasons, they're willing to call that guy up.
And Yancy times out, of course. You have to make a pick. We're not going to make one for you, Yancy. I see that you're still around. You can do this. We believe in you. But yeah, I guess the question I have with Gore is, let's say he doesn't come up after 7 games. How far are you willing to own him until you drop him?
It's going to be hard to say, and especially in this context where there won't be minor league games where we can say, oh, he is dominating AAA as a 21-year-old. They've got to call him up at some point.
Right.
It's going to be dependent on reports out of, whatever the taxi squad scrimmages are, and given that reporters may have limited access to teams, that stuff may be hard to come by. So there are, I think, legitimate questions about what, his chances of coming up are. But the way I viewed it, especially within the construction of my team, I ended up going much more starting pitcher heavy than I intended to or typically do. And that was mostly Aaron Nola fell to the 6th round. And so I felt like once I had that Flaherty, Giolito, Glasnow, Nola base of, really 3 guys who I think have, really 4 guys who have top 12 potential, and realistic top 12 potential. It was just like, well, I guess I can afford to take a flyer here. Okay,
yeah. So, I'm surprised, actually. We just saw Tony Watson as a reliever pick there.
That was me.
I know. So, so now it's, I assume, a starter, because I assumed you double up on starters at this point.
Yeah, no, that was Adrian Hauser's another guy, like, as a late-round sleeper this season. So, yeah, I'll probably grab at least one more starting pitcher. I actually kind of like Tony Watson. I know seemingly nobody does, but before last season, he was legitimately one of the best relievers in baseball for like 8 years in a row. And had the one bad season, had the shoulder issue. I think he's going to be the closer. It's a great park. Like, if Tony Watson's going to be good, Oracle Park's a good place for it to happen. And so I kind of panicked when I took Raisel Iglesias. I wasn't super happy with that. I ended up the clock was running down. Wanted to get a third closer. That was the guy there. So,
All right. Thanks a lot for that, Chris. We'll probably come back to you around just for a final review of your team.
Cool.
But I want to jump to Cauliflower now, as you just took Freddie Peralta. Of course he did. So thanks for being here, man.
Cool. Thanks.
All right. Here's Freddie Peralta, of course. New slider. Why not, right?
Exactly. I looked at a few options here. Obviously, decided to go back to back on the pitchers. I saw DVR just took Richards, which is another guy I was entertaining here. But at the end of the day, upside and Peralta, if the slider is as nasty as it looked in Winter League ball, I'll take the risk.
So a couple of things. One, he has to beat Eric Lauer, which understand not the biggest hurdle to jump over. There's also, of course, as we talked about earlier with college counseling and the way that they hold back from players from reaching their full potential, which is really the opposite of college counseling. So I got to figure that one out. But over counseling, I guess I'll do something like that. But essentially, are you worried at all that if Freddie Peralta does get that job, if he does get that job, is it going to be 6 innings? Is he going to be able to go through 5 comfortably to get those wins?
I don't know how they're going to use him. When you look across all pitching staffs, there are so many guys, and I think I said it earlier, with a 30-man roster, you can have an expanded pitching staff. There are only so many guys that should be going 5 or 6 innings through here, and the deeper you can go into the season, that's where I see them as they get down to the 26. That's still 13 pitchers, and you can still mix and match. So I don't know how many guys are lock solid 5 win, and that's where it's going to be really tough in fantasy leagues this year, especially if you're in a quality start league. I pity you. I really feel bad for you if you're in a quality start league. You may win that category with 10. Just because it's going to be so tough to get there. And wins, I know some people have gone to innings pitched. Some people have looked at wins, looked at some other win probability added, done something like that to try to figure out, because wins and especially quality starts are just going to be tough this year.
So I'm debating who my next pick is. The popular one I've been going with is Jordan Montgomery.
That's who I am. He was one of the 3 guys I was looking at with the Peralta pick. So there you go.
I mean, I could not say no to Kopech at this point. Like, I feel like there will be, especially in a 12-teamer, enough players at the end where I, on the wire, that I'll be able to grab someone later. To like, if I want to drop Kopech, he doesn't actually make that rotation. It's not a 6-man after all. They're just going to wait another year for whatever reason. And fine. Jordan Montgomery, if it doesn't work out, the velocity isn't there, fine. I was debating if I should go after one more hitter here, because there was a really good point made earlier on about eligibility that Sporer brought up. Yancy was saying, you want to have those hitters that are getting that playing time.
Yep.
But I need another catcher now. I need a catcher, so it looks like I'm done for this draft here when it comes to Kopech and Montgomery. And I want to get Dylan Betances in there because you know what? He's probably the best reliever in that pen, and given how Diaz is shaky and relievers are weird right now, we might see actually either wins or saves from Betances sneakily. So why not? Let's throw that one in there.
The good news, you got plenty of catchers to still pick from.
And I was about to say that because someone took one in the 14th round. Carson Kelly. I mean,
that was me.
And it's not a 3-catcher league.
I know that I made sure I noted this time. It's like, okay, it's only 1 catcher, but I've yet. I don't think I've got him anywhere. And this was one of the things where I looked at, because when I mentioned earlier that I wanted Grandal, and he went about a round earlier than I was looking to get him. I was looking to possibly take him on the swing back in the 11th, and then I had Mitch Garver. He went, and so I said, okay, these guys are going earlier, and I looked at where Kelly was. I was like, I'm going to go ahead and take him now because he's really the last guy that I was like, ooh, this would be interesting. Everybody else, you kind of know what you're going to get, and I like his offensive upside, which is why I went ahead and reached up to get him there, seeing how catchers were going earlier. Hey, it's my pick.
So it's your pick here, and I mean, I guess you got to go with another starter, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's all you really have at this point. 7 against Peralta.
Yep. So, I mean, I've got a number. There's a safe play. There's an upside play.
Upside play, dude.
Yeah, well, the upside play is the guy that I have in every single league. I
John Gray.
I'm very interested in him. No, that guy.
Really? You're a Bassitt hound.
I am a Bassitt hound. I have many, many, many teams with Bassitt on my team.
So this is very interesting because, I mean, either you're assuming the A's to sound like a stutterer are going to have a 6-man rotation, or that Puck doesn't get the job.
And I have Puck that took 5 rounds earlier, so I've hedged my bets here.
Okay. I understand that you want to slap the base. Now, obviously for those that are unaware, fastball was unbelievably productive in that second half last year. And it definitely helped Bassitt a bit. I'm too worried a bit, I think, about the secondary stuff. And if that fastball is really more of an anomaly in 2019 or not. What has you picking him here in this 22nd round as opposed to like Cole Hamels, Alex Wood, John Gray, Griffin Canning, etc.?
Well, it goes back. Well, you saw the second half growth with him when he got to the 24-month part of his recovery from TJ, and I've been harping on this for months with these guys. Once they get to that point, that's when you start seeing the command come back, and then the stuff takes off. And if you watch Bassitt early, he struggled. I mean, it was still too early. Then once he got to that 2-year point, you could see him pitch, and if you owned him down the stretch, it was fantastic having him on your roster because he was out there giving you quality outings, and that's what I liked, what I saw from him down the stretch. And you could see, I even wrote about him. I think I wrote an entire piece about him at RotoWire, but at least on my bold predictions, those were some nice back-to-back relievers by Bobby there, Pagan and Karinchak on top of. He's just gone relievers last 5. That was nice. But that's why I went after. I liked what I saw from him once he hit that threshold, and that's kind of why I've been hesitant to jump in on the Garrett Richards because he's not there yet.
Right.
And so the market, people have been. Richards hadn't even gone in this draft, I don't think.
Oh yeah, he's gone. Yeah, he went in the.
Oh, he did. Okay, I'm sorry.
Right after you. Yeah.
All right,
but
what's
your last pick? And I want to hear a very quick review from you of your draft.
My final pick. Which Ray do I want to take? Go ahead and take it.
Brandon Lau. Oh, okay, fine.
So, I mean, overall, I assumed a lot of risk here. You know, I think I balanced out the categories, but there's a lot of risk. If we played this season out, if this was a season play, I've got some waiver wire work to do to plug some holes. But if the risk all hit, it could be a fun team to have.
Definitely. All right. Well, Jason, thank you so much for being a part of this this draft. We'll be doing more of these as well for more charities. Everybody, please consider donating to Dream. wearedream.org/donate. If you're watching this after this live event, you should still donate. This is just an event to raise awareness for this fantastic foundation. They're doing amazing stuff with child development. It's fantastic. You should donate for that. But really, Jason, thanks so much for being here, and hopefully we can do another one with you down the road.
Sounds good. Thanks for hosting it, Bubba.
Take care. All right, Bobby, you're done. You did it. You drafted your team. And what I'm seeing here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 relievers to go with just 5 starting pitchers, 6-ish if you want. Yeah, McKay and Josh James with Carlos Martinez. So maybe 7, you could even say. How are you feeling about this team?
Not enough relief pitchers, to be honest. I mean, no, that's not true. But I'm looking at the remaining guys on my draft board. Man, I would have loved to get Jordan Hicks. Nomar Mazara is still out there. Starlin Castro, get him in like every league. Rougned Odor. Would have loved to have those guys. 12-team leagues, a little bit too shallow. But it was a lot of fun. You know, and this is how I typically end my drafts. I take James Karinchak in the last round every single time. Because I know it's a shortened season, but let's say we played 162 games, just because everyone understands that language, right? Mm-hmm. If he was to pitch 60 innings, he would legitimately strike out 120 batters. Because his stuff is that nasty. So I've got Brad Hand, and you know what? If he falters, I've got his backup. It's kind of like a handcuff like you do in fantasy football. And I just love piling up those great ratios at the end for stupid cheap. They're going to get me Ks. I'll get some wins from Presley, Adam Ottavino, Emilio Pagan. And guess what? I'm probably going to get some saves from one of those 4 guys as well. So I've got my third closer kind of behind Hand and Keone Kela. I feel good about my rotation, even though I didn't spend much draft capital. Then obviously when you spend a ton of draft capital on your hitting, I spent, 9 of my first 11 picks were hitters. That's certainly going to play well in the categories as well.
That's great. Bobby, I cannot thank you enough for being a part of this. Hopefully we get to do more of these, and hopefully you're going to be a part of them as well. But good news for you. I'm just kidding. Not good news for you. But this is a mock draft. We've learned things today. I look at my team, and I don't know if I love mine. I'm happy that, this is the first step of us fully understanding how we should be drafting moving forward. Why is there still noise? I don't know. The draft is over, guys. I made the last pick. It's Sean Murphy. But really,
nice
Bobby,
last pick, baby.
I really thanks a lot for being here, and
my
I look
pleasure.
forward to more of these.
Thanks for doing it.
All right. So, Welsh, how you feeling, man?
What's up? I'm glad to stop having sniping happening to me. So I feel good that there's this thing. I always feel great when it's over because then I don't go through the turmoil. Yeah, I feel pretty good. A lot of things that I wanted to do in the construction of a team under a 60 game worked out well. I wanted to have some like high variance guys. I got Alonso, I got Gallo, I got Mondesi. I've got some guys that I'm hoping can counteract if there is any batting average issues with Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Loved getting Justin Turner. Tim Anderson is just one of those guys, we saw what he did in a short amount of time, just qualified for batting average, power, speed. I love my pitching staff. I got 7 pitchers. I think there's a lot of upside across the board. I got 3 closers, and I feel pretty decent about them. And then I went some upside on the bench. I mean, Colton Wong is a player, and Nick Solak, that I can move into second base and move Witt to the outfield. It gives me flexibility. I got Spencer Howard, who looks like he might have a rotation spot. And I think I got him like 5 rounds cheaper than Mackenzie Gore went, and he's much more assured. And then Jo Adell, and the team came out and actually had some confidence as far as allowing Jo Adell to really, really compete this year. So Jo Adell's the type of player that, he's got, on this type of format, outfield 3 upside for sure. And I've got some replacement guys for it. So I feel pretty good about it outside of that outfield being a little bit of a an uphill battle this whole time.
Yeah, I mean, that Jo Adell pick is a good example of the kind of picks you should be making inside of 12 teamers, right?
Exactly.
Because you want to be going
exactly
for that upside play where okay, fine, you figure out by the start of the season that he's not going to be on that team. Sure, there's still enough of a waiver pool to find something that will help your squad.
I want to point out with you real quick. I just want to add to you real quick before we go off of that.
Yeah, sure.
Like what you said. Now I'm trying to remember who it was, who you just said that to, if it was Collette or whatever. But go with the upside play. You know, that's absolutely what you should do in a 12-man or a 10-man when you're down to these last couple rounds. There are some massive prospects that didn't go. I mean, we already saw Carlson dropped. Spencer Howard dropped, and there's other guys who are going to make an impact this year that we didn't see get drafted. I mean, Alec Baum is going to be one of those players with the Phillies. There's opportunity there. There's probably some Padres guys as well. So there were some serious prospects that didn't even get taken in this, and we really should. You should take that upside play because it's pretty easy to replace. So sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
I'm just thinking about, no, that's fine. I'm thinking about that fab essentially 10 days after the season starts, because like it starts on that Thursday and then that Sunday, where after the 7 games, that's when everyone's going to come up, right?
That's why, like, seeing like Nate Pearson really fell. I went Spencer Howard because he fell way later than I thought he should have. And you're 100% right. Why not get those guys? Why not take your last 3 or 4 bench spots? Get those players that people are going to try to pay up for, because after the 7 days, if they do get called up, people are going to be I mean, Jo Adell would be, if he didn't get drafted in this and he were available and he's up after 7 days because they've only got Brian Goodwin in that spot, he's going to take up all the fab. People are going to be spending that money, unless there's a pitcher available. But you know what I'm saying? Like, why not just make that bet early on?
So the question is, how valuable is your bench spot, right? How much is that? Because that's 7 days, and 7 days of a 60-game season, 66 days, essentially a tenth of the season, right?
Well, and to your point, Nick, it might be about what you did with your starting pitching, because like how you affected your pitch. You just wanted to like really stock up, and I can tell you were talking about you wanted your bench to be heavy pitching. Well, you know, if you're not comfortable with your starters and you need those guys to be in there, it might be a little bit riskier to, you know, take some of those bets with prospects if you can't afford to, you know, get backwards in that first week or two.
So, I mean, so essentially, if you're, you know, if you have a lineup, and the way I see it is, over, let's say the season was 5 days, your starting lineup would essentially not change. But your starters, you could swap in. You can actually take guys off the bench and get value out of that.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly. Yeah, 100%. I mean,
and so essentially, if you treat that first week like that, before all that happens, that's my approach with it. So I find myself being a little hesitant to go after the Spencer Howard, Nate Pearson, Mackenzie Gore, Jo Adell, a couple others I'm sure I'm forgetting because prospects laugh out loud. But I get exactly 19th rounder. So you can also make that decision later on. Is there someone else I would rather go for? Like, give yourself that position now to do that. And I completely understand. I mean, you can never really criticize a pick after the 19th round anyway. It's kind of silly to do that. But yeah, Spencer Howard could be legit this year, especially if it's a 6-man in the Phillies. Vince Velasquez, is even that good enough to push down Spencer Howard? I don't know.
And the team said that, you know, before all this went down, that there was a potential that he was going to break camp, you know, similar to the conversation we have with Nick Madrigal right now. So it's all inherent risk, but I allowed myself to do that by having really solid pitching. I paid up early, but I played some other areas with my hitting. I mean, if you look, my top 2 pitchers, I have Jacob deGrom and Steven Strasburg. I also got Luzardo in the 9th round, which he's coming cheaper. And I got some deals, I think, in Robbie Ray and Rich Hill. So having 3 closers, you know, in a top 18, let's say, closer type of a rank, and then having that type of a rotation, I think it allows me to take a chance and go, all right, well, Spencer Howard isn't up this week. I'll put Kikuchi in there. And if I don't have Jo Adell, I've already got a couple other guys where I can put Nick Solak in and move Whit Merrifield down. I've given myself flexibility, and enough of the guys that I don't need to have a lot of movement in that first week or two, that hopefully it pays off after the fact.
Well, anyway, Welsh, thanks so much for being a part of this.
Thanks,
hopefully we get to do more of them, hopefully, and you're back for those as well. I hope you had fun with us.
Thanks, buddy. Always love doing it.
All right, take care. Next we have DVR. DVR, what's going on, man?
All right, so I've had a few minutes to really let it sink in. Was this good? Was this bad? I think this turned out pretty well, given the flaws that I had, because I think with Gurriel and Diaz and then Miguel Andujar, who I picked after we last spoke, and Andujar is a good enough hitter. He's going to find time in that Yankees lineup, and he'll qualify at somewhere that's not UT, probably a week, maybe 2 weeks into the season. So as a bench player, I think he brings enough upside, but I also think he brings a pretty good floor. When you look back at what he did in 2018, I'm kind of curious, what should people be doing with like Ryan Braun, thinking about the universal DH now? Because now I think like Braun and Avisail Garcia can coexist in the lineup on the same day every single day. Like Kane was going to play every day because of his defense. Yelich obviously was going to play every day because he's awesome. Now both of those guys can play every day too. So is Ryan Braun actually 12-team viable? Like in a shortened season, do we lower his injury risk, since his tend to be more of those accumulation sort of injuries, like, you know, a bad back that flares up?
Yep.
Like they could push him pretty hard when he doesn't have to play defense.
I think that's a fantastic point. I saw Braun there as one of those guys that if I didn't have Eaton and I felt instead of Betances I need another hitter, I might have swung for Braun. But that's a great point. I mean, I think the DH does open a lot. And there is still a question, though. Is Braun going to be a everyday player? Even with the DH, are they still going to give him some rest? And if that's the case, then I don't want to deal with that at all. Anyone that is not playing essentially 60 games is just going to hurt you eventually, because there will be a day that you're not going to look. It's going to be 6:55 and you don't check your phone in time. That's when you know that Ryan Braun isn't in the lineup, and you just go, well, sorry, I missed it today. And that's going to hurt so much. But maybe he does go every day. I mean, that could easily happen. I actually see now that Ohtani DH wasn't gone. Like, I think we established, I don't know how that worked. I messed up, as I always do with these mocks, that like Shohei Ohtani, he's not a two-way player. He's one way. So you have DH and you have starter. And Sporer took him, as you should, thinking he was a one way in the 8th round, which is absurdly good. But no one took the other complement. So like, for example, if you got Braun, I would love to have Braun and Ohtani. Something like that. But then again, I would hate for there to be a day when they're both sitting. So maybe that's actually not a smart move. But nevertheless, like, those are the kind of guys that I think you can actually, if you have the bench spot and you're okay with everything else, you can really capitalize on it. So yeah, Braun is a very, very good point there. The main question I wanted to ask with you is, did you ever consider Gio Urshela over Miguel Andujar? Because he actually didn't get drafted in this. And I've seen a lot of people favor Urshela over Andujar. It's actually maybe even like a 50-50 split. Were you thinking about that at all?
I've thought about it a lot this draft season. I think Andujar's a better hitter, and I'm just aiming high in this situation. And there are paths for them to play in the same lineup. It would take an injury, you know, Luke Voit going down, one of Judge or Stanton going down, opening up some time at DH would certainly create that path as well. I just think at the end of the day, Andujar's bat drives the playing time, and it could be a mess. I mean, the hardest thing about this season, I think, in terms of roster management, is going to be making decisions to cut players, especially in shallow formats, if that opportunity is not what we expect it to be right away.
Right, yeah.
Do you have the discipline to let a player like Braun or Andujar or Masahiro Tanaka or any of your late round picks, or especially some of the high upside guys you were talking about with Welsh, the prospects? Like, you're waiting on a Spencer Howard, you're waiting on a Nate Pearson, and that first week passes and you think, okay, this is the week they're going to come up. They don't come up in week 2. You got to make that decision on Sunday night. Do you wait it out for another week, or do you say, hey, you know what, I'm going to let him go, and if he goes off on someone else's team, so be it? Because I think reading teams' intentions with their young players is going to be really hard, especially in a shortened season. We don't know where their thresholds are for pushing chips in to compete or waiting and trying to delay service time for another year.
It's the new hipsters, right? This is what it is. The youngins are the hipsters, because you have to deal with them. They stifle the entire roster because you're just waiting in that first week, and that's a long time to do it. And who knows if they're actually even good or get a full start when they do show up, right? So, it's not for me. I don't think it's for me. I'm so excited to watch them. I cannot be more excited to do that gift breakdown when Howard makes his debut, or Pearson or Gore, if they do this year. But yeah, I think I'm personally out on those. DVR, really, thanks so much for being a part of this. This is awesome to have you here. Give me your 2 cents as well. And I hope you're back for the next ones that we do.
Yeah, looking forward to it. And thanks again for including me, Nick. This is for a great cause, so I'm glad to be a part of it.
Thanks a lot, Derek. Take care.
You too.
All right. We have Chris Towers now, who deviated, of course, from his initial 4 starters, is someone that did take Mackenzie Gore, as we said before. Took Alex Wood as his final pick. How are you feeling about this team?
It's a weird team. It's not necessarily a team that works like I typically draft, and I think I probably could have used more power. I mean, I do have Gary Sanchez, Matt Olson, and Ronald Acuna, but those are probably the only guys I would definitely expect 30-plus homers from in a full season. So that's a little iffy. Maybe in a shortened season, this kind of batting average heavy team may not make as much sense just because that's such a volatile stat. And, I think you can also make a case that a starting pitching heavy team like the one I built doesn't make as much sense in a shorter season.
We don't know yet is the question. There's so much up in the air still.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that I've tried to really stress as a result of this 60-game season is if you're trying to identify, I think this player's going to struggle in a shortened season, but this player's going to do better. I think you just throw that analysis out the window. We're not nearly smart enough to know that. There are probably some guys whose skill sets are better suited for this kind of season, but you're chasing impossible odds if you're trying to identify them individually. But, we can say maybe classes of players might be better suited.
Right.
I think the consensus has typically been in a roto league in a 60-game season, stolen bases. You should be pushing stolen base guys up because you're less likely to be able to rely on those, 20 steal, 15 steal guys this year.
Yeah.
And I think starting pitching as a population should probably be discounted overall, just because they are less predictable. You're less likely to get that return on investment. But in this case, it kind of felt like everyone slipped. And maybe the only one I might have reached a little bit on was Giolito. I think he was the second pick of the 4th round, so
he was the best available starter in my book at that time. Actually, say for you, Darvish. But I mean, if that's the strategy we're going for, it doesn't seem like a reach in that respect.
Yeah, and then ultimately when Arenado was there in the 6th round, that just kind of I was perfectly content to go 3 starting pitchers in my first 5 picks, and then not take another starter until my lineup was full. And then Arenado was there at 62nd overall, I think is what it ended up being. I just at that point, no, it was even later than that. It was 71st. At that point, I couldn't keep passing on him.
Sure.
And so that kind of dictated my approach. I never want to go into a draft and say this is the team I'm going to draft because, you end up. I think that more often than not, you'll end up screwing yourself over by not taking what the draft gives you. And so, that's what I tried to do. My bench picks, Alex Verdugo and Austin Riley as my bats. I think I'm pretty happy with those. Austin Riley, obviously, I think one of the bigger winners with the universal DH, even if he's not the DH.
Right.
All of a sudden, he was battling Johan Camargo. Now it's, you could play both of them, and they should play Austin Riley every day. And,
I mean, I also love the JD Davis pick. I think that's a fantastic ad.
So that's a shout to Scott White, who just loves JD Davis so much this season. On today's podcast, we did our third base preview 2.0. He said he thinks JD Davis is going to be someone we're drafting in the first 5 rounds next season.
Oh, wow.
And it's definitely a bold call, but if you look at the skill set, you look at the production in the high minors. I know he was an older kind of non-prospect, but then you look at what he did last season, the quality of contact, the good contact numbers. He does kind of look like a guy who you can project for a 285, 290 average and decent pop. And another guy with this universal DH, all of a sudden those playing time concerns are kind of gone.
I think it's a fantastic pick. We normally see him around the 12th to the 14th round or so. Sometimes I even see him in the 10th. And it was one of those guys that just kind of slipped by. I wasn't, honestly, if I probably would have taken JD Davis if I was aware that he was still there when I took Edwin Encarnacion. But I think that's a fantastic pick. And of course, the last question I have for you is that Joe Musgrove pick, is that a nod to Frank, or is that more of you just love Joe Musgrove as well?
Frank is a big Joe Musgrove guy, and he's added some definite Musgrove and Mitch Keller love. But I will say, before Frank even joined the Fantasy Baseball Today podcast, I believe back in early February, I wrote a piece saying that the Pirates pitching staff could be the key to a fantasy baseball championship.
Yes.
In
I love
2020.
that article. That's great.
And
Can't
that
agree more.
included Chris Archer, unfortunately.
I feel so bad for Archer. This was like his time.
I really think
finally
he was gonna have a good year. Yeah,
it was there.
It's really unfortunate, but with Oscar Marin, the new pitching coach in Pittsburgh, Ray Searage did a lot of good stuff over the course of his time there, but ultimately it seemed like a situation, and Tyler Glass now talked about this, where they had a one-size-fits-all approach.
Right,
and that
exactly,
approach
and that's
worked. It worked for Francisco Liriano, it worked for Ivan Nova, it worked for AJ Burnett. Ray Searage really did help turn a lot of careers around, but it was all fastballs. And when you look at a Mitch Keller, when you look at a Joe Musgrove, those are guys with really good secondary stuff. And allowing them the freedom to throw those pitches more often, I think is going to unlock big things for both.
Well, I look forward to watching it this year. Chris, thanks a lot for taking the time to be a part of this today.
Thanks for having me. It was a good draft. Short.
Yeah, right.
We got it out quickly.
2 hours.
Great.
Look at that. Bam, bam, done. Yeah. But all right, we have one more person. And really thanks again for being here. Hopefully we'll see you next time as well. We've got Yance who stuck around to the end.
Yeah.
Last one here. How you feeling, Yance? How was this draft?
I normally err on the side of extremely self-deprecating and not believing in myself. But my team is actually extremely, extremely good.
There it is.
Maybe I should have taken one more starting pitcher, perhaps a little bit earlier. But overall, just from a statistical output standpoint, I mean, even if you're taking like 75th percentile, like across the board, I have basically everything I need. I like what I did with my bench later in the draft, where I'm taking players where they're going to be playing almost every single day. Like my last round pick was John Birdie, who has third base, shortstop, and outfield eligibility. I think that could be super valuable. A lot of my analysis kind of skews towards NFB centric, which I know this is just a standalone, but I'm thinking in that mindset where, if NFBC allows for you to swap out your hitters on Fridays in a league like this, and, with COVID and all these players in and out of the player pool constantly, I think having multiple players that are, that have 2 or 3 position eligibilities is going to be honestly extremely huge. And just being able to consolidate, or not even consolidate, but just spread around my statistical categories. Like I have multiple players that can give me stolen bases. I have multiple players that can hit a ton of home runs. I probably have 3 of the top 5, home run leaders in baseball this year. So, yeah, I don't know. What do you think about it? What do you think about the SP approach that I took? I was getting kind of scared because we kept seeing these huge runs, and I was kind of feeling like I was going to get left out. But I don't know. What are your takeaways?
I think it could have been worse. Gray, Price, Boyd, Minor, Weaver isn't as bad as it could have been. I'm getting 1 starter through the first 9. I do. I think he did well. I mean, I think this is a great team. I mean, the offense is certainly set. I'm doing my mental math of like what your output is expected for stolen bases, but you have Arenado Rosario to help out with that at shortstop, I imagine, or you could even put Bregman at short if you wanted. I mean, kind of push out Rosario. I think it's a solid team. Maybe gone. I wouldn't have done the Josh Hader pick, of course, as we've already discussed. If you doubled up, if you did Wheeler and Sonny Gray instead. Obviously you couldn't have, because I would have taken Sonny Gray, but you understand what I'm getting at. I think would have made me a lot more confident in this team, but nevertheless, I think you did well.
I think going back to like the stolen base stuff too, even my first base situation, Cody Bellinger is one of a handful of first basemen that will still, he'll steal bags. Say I need to move him to the outfield. I have Christian Walker, who again, he steals bags. I think he had 8 or 9 last year. So like it's spread out. I can see that I'm going to be streaming the back end of my rotation. So if I have any types of injuries at all, like obviously like a John Birdie is going to be the first one that I cut. But what I like about my bench, especially Dansby Swanson, I really do want to talk about him. That wasn't just like I'll just take him or whatever. In the first half last year, he had 17 home runs and 7 stolen bases, and he batted 270. Like this could potentially be a league winner if he's completely healthy. And, he is one of those players who he is their shortstop, and the shortstop's the one position where you don't really see them swapping them in and out. You have the same shortstop every single day. So I honestly, I feel really good about that. It's like a super late upside pick that's going to play every day.
Well, nice. And then also you have Justin Upton there, who's that could work out, especially with DH. Or, I mean, get rid of Pujols, and it's not Brian Goodwin, it's Upton. I don't know. I don't know.
Is Brian Goodwin still on the team?
I mean, I think so. It's like it's Trout. Wait, it's Trout, Upton in the outfield, and then Brian Goodwin, I think, and then Odell comes in there. Okay, I think I got this. I'm talking about hitters. I shouldn't be doing this. But anyway, Yance, it's good to see you here. This was
Likewise.
fun to do. I'm glad.
I'm at this point where. Yeah, thank you for inviting me. I'm at this point where it's getting extremely hot in the garage, and I'm starting to like get really shiny and sweaty. So I will take my cue. I will head out. But thank you for doing this, and thank you for including me.
Oh, it's great to have you, Yance, and hopefully you're back for the future ones that we do.
Yep, absolutely.
Take care. All right, guys, that is going to wrap up this weekly mock. We're going to try and do multiple of these before the start of the season, hopefully one a week. But the purpose of these, of course, is to raise money for good causes. Dream is a fantastic foundation. Heavily consider going to that link, wearedream.org/donate. If you do donate, leave a photo of your donation on the Twitter thread, and one person that does that will win PL Plus and join our wonderful Discord on the site. But really consider donating. Everything helps, of course. It's a fantastic foundation rooted in improving the lives of children, improving youth development, and making communities better. So please consider that. They use baseball as a tool as well, which is fantastic. But really, thank you all so much for joining me today and all these fantastic individuals from the industry. I need to do more of these, clearly, because I'm learning things in every one of these drafts. We're only a couple weeks away from the start of the season, which is amazing and also kind of terrifying because there's so much left to do. But really, thank you all so much for joining today. I will certainly give you more heads up when we're doing the next one. And I look forward to it. And hopefully you will join us then. I'll put this up as on YouTube if you missed any of it before as well. So go to youtube.com/pitcherlist. But we'll see you guys next